off towards the afternoon hours starting at 1 o'clock, lasting through about 11 p.m. tonight. Going to be looking for the possibility of a few isolated strong to severe storms. That'll start to taper off. Highs this afternoon still back towards the upper 70s. Into Friday, 82 degrees, looking dry throughout much of the day. Then late Friday night could see some strong to severe storms. We'll continue to keep a close eye. Those will turn into showers Saturday, exiting by Saturday afternoon. Sunday looking dry for Easter. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Stan Scott.
There's a lot to talk about today, St. Louis. Let's get the conversation started. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalkSTL.
Happy anniversary, everybody. I know you're thinking, wait a minute, what anniversary? Well, today is 1 year into the so-called Liberation Day tariffs. Yeah, you know that I'm not a fan of them. Maybe you are. So we're going to have that discussion. What's been the impact of President Trump's tax increases under the guise of tariffs? We're going to do that right around 7:05 with our friends from the National Taxpayers Union. All right, Thursday, we're getting there, almost to the end of the week. So don't forget, Flashback Friday coming your way, obviously, tomorrow. What are your 80s bump music requests? Be sure to send them in to Jerome here. Okay, big announcement this week. Representative Sam Graves leaving Congress after almost 3 decades, and immediately when he made that announcement, radio host Chris Stigall, who you may know him from his work at the Herzog Foundation, you can hear them every Sunday morning here on News Talk STL. Well, he announced that he's in. He's going to run for that seat, and Chris joined us on Wednesday's program, kind of giving us an outline of where he is with the campaign and what he wants to accomplish if you elect him to Congress.
You're doing really well with the gig that you had. You know, you've been doing it a long time. You've got a great reputation in the industry. Why jump into something where you know you're going to live your life being ripped apart by everybody from social media to the other political party and got to watch your back for your own? I mean, so you're going from being able to comment on things and you're going into the fire itself. What made you say, you know what, that sounds like the next thing that I think I need to do?
Well, Mike, good morning, and I'm good to be with you guys. I wish I could tell you that I woke up and my lifelong dream was to run for Congress. That's not really it. Congressman Graves, after really very suddenly to me announcing that he was going to retire after 26 years, left a legacy that, quite frankly, I want to protect, and that is making Northwest Missouri and all of really the northern part of Missouri a more conservative place. And I want to keep it that way. You know, people are from all over the country are choosing with their feet. They're voting with their feet to move to places that are protecting their rights, protecting their money, protecting their just basic liberties and freedoms. And Missouri sits in a place right now to be one of those beneficiaries. While blue states are losing, red states are gaining. I want to help that, and I want to help defend the great things about the 6th Congressional District. And I just feel at this time in my life, my kids are of an age, and as you point out, for 25 years, I've been doing this and jousting with Democrats and the media. I know how to do it. I know how to communicate what the citizens of the 6th Congressional District care about, because I'm one. And I think more than anything right now, the Republican Party needs quality messengers who can go into the fight every day. That's what I bring.
This is more of a piece of advice than a question, Chris, because as someone who did a massive career change at, how old am I now, 57? 53, went from the practice of law, which I'd done for almost 30 years at that point, and went into media. I mean, it's a very, very, very big change. And I know I know you're going into this with your eyes wide open. I mean, you definitely understand the political sphere. But what do you think is going to be, the biggest adjustment that you're going to need to make?
Right now, what I want to do is make certain that I understand very specifically what the needs of each individual county in this district are. And my goal over the next months is to speak very specifically. I was just on the phone yesterday with the good people of Marion County, for instance, and they were telling me that one of their big concerns right now is infrastructure. And they say they're teetering on the brink of whether they're going to grow or collapse. That was literally what the commissioner told me on the phone yesterday. And I said, I'm coming. I want you to tell me what's going on there. I want to know how I can help. And so my goal is get around to each and every district or rather each and every county in our district and learn their needs, because the only way you can really know for sure, I've been talking to people, I've been blessed as you guys have, to take calls from people who do all kinds of things. My radio audience over 25 years is full of people who have flown planes, are doctors, are teachers, plumbers, firefighters, police officers, and I've learned so much, as I know you guys do, from just folks that listen to our shows. But now I got to hit the ground, and I got to shake hands and talk to people where they live and find out what their needs are. That's going to be my change. I'm going to be able to get out of the studio. That's really my mantra. It's time to shut up and put up. It's time to step away from the mic, stop talking, and start acting.
We're visiting with Chris Stigall, who just announced this week that he's running for Congress in Missouri's 6th District, which basically is the top, geographically, about the top 20% of the state geographically. It's just a big line right across the top of the state. So it's a massive geographic area of the state. So, Chris, if you're elected, whether it is a narrow Democratic majority, whether it's a narrow Republican majority, we're talking about, obviously a highly contentious situation you're walking into. How do you, as somebody who's new into Congress, should you be elected, how are you able to advance the conservative principles? Because I was kind of commenting, doing my punditry thing, saying there are ways where the MAGA and the Trump movement are very, very populist. And then there's the conservative movement. Sometimes they're very different. There's a Venn diagram overlap. I've always thought of you of kind of being in that overlap, with the Trump movement, the MAGA movement, and the conservative movement, because they're not always in agreement on everything. But how do you navigate the conservative principles that we hear you talk about for all these years, and navigating that through the whole meat grinder that is Congress and advancing those?
Yeah, I think what you and I both know, and what you're saying in that, Mike, is that it's seldom black and white. Our principles are, but often in politics, it seems there's lots of shades of gray, and that Venn diagram makes things complex. I'll say that what I saw Speaker Johnson and the Republicans in the House do to tell the Senate, take a flying leap. We're not going to pass that garbage you just sent us without funding ICE, for instance, at the border. The House has to be able to stand up and say no. There are certain things on which we will not compromise. There are things at times, I imagine, where if you get 80% of something you want, maybe you're not going to get 100%, and then you've got to look at the practicality of it. And I know the pitfalls of that. A lot of times in this day and age, people want 100% of all they can get. And I believe in fighting for 100% of what you can get. But I suspect, and I don't know until I'm presented with it, there will be times where there will have to be some pragmatism involved to get something done. I think President Trump's agenda is one of those. Do I think in every instance President Trump has laid out the most conservative agenda when it comes to, say, spending? Maybe not. But I also know that this president has brought the size of the federal government to the lowest levels of hiring in 50 years. And I don't think most people know that, and I don't think President Trump has gotten the credit for it. This is the smallest staffed government with your tax dollars in 50 years. That's a big deal. Now, it's not enough, but it's a start. And so the Trump agenda, I would just say broadly, is what I'm there to go back. He needs all the backup he can get in a really razor-thin House, as you mentioned. And so as long as President Trump is willing to fight, and he has, and I voted for him 3 times, I'm there to back that agenda. And that's my maybe long answer to what is obviously going to be a complex and sometimes great question.
Chris, I know this is all still pretty new, but obviously the primary is in August, so there's a sort of narrow time window that we're working with here. You mentioned Marion County. Obviously, that's the northeastern part of the state, and you're more familiar, I guess, with the northwestern part of Missouri. What is how are you envisioning that making it around to all the different counties? Is that sort of going to be like a bus tour kind of thing, or what is your thought process on that?
He's going to crash on my couch.
There you go.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, do you have a guest room? That's my biggest plan right now. I'm calling all my radio friends and asking if I can couch surf like an Airbnb.
There you go.
No, honestly, we are actively in talks about how to do it. This district, somebody told me, and I was kind of stunned by it, somebody told me that this district is literally bigger than, I think, 3 different states of the union.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally take states of the union and fit it into this district, I think 3 of them. So it's vast. It's a lot of landmass. You guys understand. Media is going to be a huge part of this, being able to reach people through media, through social media. And that's one of the ways I hope people will stay in touch with me and let me hear from them is on X, Facebook, Instagram. I'm there. I'll stay there. We're going to have a robust presence there, of course, and you'll hear from me plenty. And hopefully you guys will be good enough to invite me on your show to talk some more and take questions too. But physically, yes, I'm looking at my calendar now. We're mapping it out for the rest of the summer. There's lots of great events to participate in, and we're going to hit as many of them as possible.
Okay, hopefully by the time whoever the next congressperson is from the 6th District is sworn in, be that you or be that one of your opponents, hopefully the war in Iran is over. But the bigger question that's going to linger is what role should the U.S. government have in other parts of the world, particularly the Middle East? We've got Venezuela. We've got the Middle East. We're talking about Cuba now. Obviously, there's Russia, Ukraine. What is the right presence for the United States? Because that's one of the areas where there's not a clear-cut consensus among all Republicans.
No, there's not a consensus, and I appreciate it. Heaven knows we all went through Iraq and Afghanistan and the quagmires those became. No one wants that, and no one wants that less than I believe Donald Trump does. He was very, very clear in that. No more quagmires, no more endless wars. He never went into Iran for this to be an endless war, but he also never promised it was going to be over in a day. And so I think we're striking a happy medium, and I think tonight the president is going to make some comments about how he plans to finally withdraw our presence there, hopefully with some peace talks, and we'll see if Iran comes to the table on that. But the goal was always clear, and I think some people incorrectly assigned a goal of occupation or something, or endless presence in Iran as President Trump's goal. It never was his goal. The Secretary of State, if you heard his statement yesterday, made it very clear why they decided to do what they did. President Trump had intelligence and a view of Iran that they were getting very, very close to not only being fully nuclear capable, but they were also getting to a place where they were fortified and defended to such a degree there was nothing we could do about it. And when you have a terrorist, jihadist, Islamic theocracy that is hell-bent on, in my view, apocalyptic destruction, this was a window. It was a window that was closing. President Trump has been clear since the 80s. I just saw Barbara Walters' interview with him, in which he was very, very clear Iran must be dealt with. And that was all the way back then. And so he did. I'm glad that he did. But I think that he's probably going to share with us, now that they've been decimated and dramatically weakened, you have allies in that region that for the first time used to kind of sit on the sidelines. Now they're willing to step up. UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. These are nations that are now interested in making sure Iran does not become that kind of strong and really dangerous element in their region again. They don't want that any more than we do. So I think President Trump has a vision, and I think he's going to share it in more detail tonight. I look forward to it.
Okay, so I'm going to probably shortchange you. Just got a minute or minute and a half left here. Chris DeGaulle running for Congress, the 6th District. Obviously, partial government shutdown continues over DHS funding, and that boils down to the Democrats digging in their heels over ICE and, Border Patrol. How do we responsibly manage a federal budget and protect the border the right way? Because the one thing I think voters said overwhelmingly is stop taxing us so much. We do want to see government reduced, and DOGE has happened, and you've talked about the lower levels of hiring and staffing in the federal government. What's the responsible way to navigate through this sort of budget impasse, and what should the priorities be when it comes to our money and our spending and our taxes?
I'm so glad you said DOGE. One of my goals, one of the first things I want to do when I hit the door, I want to know what DOGE has been doing because I think they did amazing things. And I want to see the power of AI turned loose on the size and scope of this federal bureaucracy. I talked with Russ Vought on my show about a month ago about this. Can AI be implemented in this monolithic government so we can really find the waste, fraud, and abuse? He said, yes, but we've got to do it in a strategic way. I want to learn more about that. I believe that's one of the positives of AI. We're going to be able to quickly sift through the trillions of dollars this country spends and find out the fraud, the billions in fraud that we're discovering from Democrats in places like Minneapolis. That's just the tip of the spear. In California, I'm sure here in Missouri, I'm sorry to say, there would be a great deal of fraud too. President Trump and Vice President Vance have assembled this fraud team where they're going to talk across offices in the administration to tackle it. That's one of the most obvious places, guys, is the fraud, the billions, the hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud. That's my quick and obvious answer to how we can start righting the ship.
Okay, once again, Flashback Friday right around the corner, so send Jerome those 80s bump music requests. You can put them in the comments on social media as well. Let us know what you want to hear tomorrow. All right, this is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Hey, Tony Colombo here with Tim Jones for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, the #1 home selling team in the St. Louis area, and I can say that from firsthand experience. My wife and I were blown away from the results that we saw from working with Rodney and Jen, from selling our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible to finding our family's perfect new home. They over-delivered every step of the way, and right now it's still very much a seller's market. So, Tim, for folks that have been thinking about selling their home, it's a perfect time to call the Wallners.
That's right, Tony. And don't forget, they're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so no matter where you are in the metro area, you can put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. The Wallners' experience and work ethic, second to none. And of course, the numbers speak for themselves. The Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. Right now, they're working with so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
A Disney cruise is no ordinary vacation. It's an adventure, a fairy tale, a dream. Step aboard and discover where favorite Disney characters meet fun for the whole family, where total rest and relaxation meet the ultimate escape and excitement, where a dream vacation meets a magical cruise. Only on Disney Cruise Line, where magic meets the sea.
Magic Expeditions will make planning your Disney cruise easy. Reach out at magicexpeditions.com.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payment's interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
President basically reinforcing his message for the war, on Iran last night at his address. But I'm just gonna confess something right up front, Jerome. I didn't watch it. Did you watch the speech?
I caught bits and pieces of
it. I mean, I didn't watch it live. I mean, I kind of did the review thing and skimmed through a little bit because I think we all knew what he was going to say. I mean, we knew that he was going to double down on it. The messaging has been pretty consistent overall. There's a few things here and there that they've tweaked from time to time, but for the most part, the administration has been real consistent. And then you agree or you disagree with them. That's just how that goes. So I didn't watch it.
I forgot that it was going to air at the time it did. The only reason why I remembered was because I was seeing a lot of stuff online of people that were mad that their shows were being interrupted for it. Yeah. And they're like, this is what you interrupted what I was doing for, really? And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll check it out.
Yeah,
then.
I mean, okay, so I've got mixed feelings on that a little bit. The reality is that we have seen what happens when presidents are not forthright with what they want to accomplish, and they don't talk to the public and they don't talk to the media, and how frustrating and suspicious it makes us. Well, whether you love Donald Trump or you don't like Donald Trump, one thing you cannot accuse him of is hiding from the cameras.
Yeah.
He loves himself a camera and a microphone. And so, whether every network should carry every single one, well, that's a network decision. There's a lot of pressure for them to do it, though, just from the FCC, regardless of whether it's a Republican or Democrat. I don't know that I would break in everything because you've got all sorts of options to watch it anywhere, on social media, streaming channels, anything like that. But, he's out there doing that. So you can listen. He's making his case for it. You can agree or you can disagree. Here's part of what he had to say. And I think this probably encapsulates the theme that he has for it.
We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
Yeah, that's pretty much encapsulates the messaging that he was sending.
I mean, is that any new revelation that we didn't already know?
Yeah.
For the past couple of weeks of him basically saying the exact same thing?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything new, and that's okay. I mean, it's an update, but I don't know that there was anything necessarily new. I don't know that this necessarily changes anybody's opinion, but I'm not going to fault the President of the United States for saying, I'm going to address the nation on where we are in a war that we started in Iran. And again, I'm not saying I'm still withholding judgment as to whether I think we should or shouldn't have, but we did initiate this. Maybe there's good reasons for that. I'm as concerned about nukes over there as well. But I'm not going to fault the president for talking to the nation about that. There's nothing. Yeah, I got no issue with that.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show. I am here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, entrepreneurship, it's one of those buzzwords we hear a lot about, but is entrepreneurship really important to the economy?
It definitely is. Entrepreneurship is a consistent contributor to economic growth. It creates new products and services that people value. It creates the new businesses that provide them. It fosters innovation that improves productivity, and it increases beneficial competition. It generates jobs, income, wealth mobility, and even tax revenues that all support and enhance communities. Entrepreneurship matters, so we need to help it thrive in all our communities.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Never paint again with Rhino Shield. Listen to what a couple of happy customers have to say.
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted. Our building was really faded. You came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
What a wonderful job they did. It's beautiful. They were very thoughtful, kind, considerate guys. Appreciate all the work that these two young men did.
Call Rhino Shield, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
I'm in my late 60s. My husband died a few years ago. He did all of our taxes. I sold a piece of property last year, and I forgot to claim the proceeds of the sale. Next thing I know, I got a letter from the IRS telling me that I owe over $50,000. Now I have a huge tax problem. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I knew who to call.
If you sold property in the last calendar year or didn't claim all of your part-time or even retirement income, you could be in big trouble with the IRS. Call first before they send you a letter. If you've already got a letter, call. We'll help you file years of past tax returns and save you time and money. So call the tax doctor. The call is confidential and free.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Touting the success of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump says the war on Iran is winding down and should soon be over. In the meantime, he warns Tehran to make a deal with the U.S. or else.
We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime, discussions are ongoing.
The president's White House address delivered last night. Mainstream media headlines often portray the rising generation as rebellious and disconnected. And in part 2 of our series on Tim Gegline's new book, What Really Matters, the focus on the family, Vice President says his study of demographics indicates there are better days ahead for America, especially among young men ages 18 to 25.
Again, no matter where you're at in the country, this demographic of young American men say they are far more interested in traditional values. They want to be married. They want to have children. They are motivated by faith and religion. They want a continuum of a faith life. And I think that this is very encouraging.
In our final segment tomorrow, Tim Gegline outlines how Americans restore a legacy of faith and freedom as our 250th birthday approaches. NASA's Artemis II lunar mission off to a great start. With last night's launch from the Kennedy Space Center, 4 astronauts are on their way to a close encounter with the moon. Commander Reed Wiseman says they're enjoying $1 million view on the way.
We've got 2 moon rises that we've had so far, and the views of planet Earth. We've circled it completely, and we forgot how beautiful it is to look down on Earth.
A new agreement on DHS funding means that the partial government shutdown could soon come to an end. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures are sharply lower. The Dow futures down more than 500 points. NASDAQ futures off almost 400 points. Townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your First Alert forecast. We're going to be tracking a First Alert weather day as we head off towards the afternoon hours starting at 1 o'clock, lasting through about 11 p.m. tonight. Going to be looking for the possibility of a few isolated strong to severe storms. That'll start to taper off. Highs this afternoon still back towards the upper 70s into Friday, 82 degrees, looking dry throughout much of the day. Then late Friday night could see some strong to severe storms. We'll continue to keep a close eye. Those will turn into showers Saturday, exiting by Saturday afternoon. Sunday looking dry for Easter. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Stan Tess.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com.
Spring has sprung at Daniel's Farming Greenhouses on Joggerman and St. Peters. Discover our breathtaking 55,000 square feet of greenhouses featuring 8,000 hanging baskets, hundreds of perennials, and 100,000 pots of colorful annuals. From vegetable plants to premium grass seed, mulch to herbs, our knowledgeable staff is ready to answer all your questions. Start spring off right with pansies, potted tulips, and everything your garden craves. Daniel's Farming Greenhouses. Visit us today on Joggerman or online at danielsfarminggreenhouses.com.
David Jaworski here. I'm running for Francis House School Board. A millennium ago, the bricks became the gold standard of education. These same basic methods still work, yet today the liberal progressives seem to ignore past lessons in favor of more spending and every novel educational idea that comes along. While the cognitive ability of our kids continues to slip away, good teachers face selective policy enforcement, failed programs, and indoctrination. Vote for David Jaworski on April 7th. Help me begin the process to make the old school methods that work new school again. Paid for by David Jaworski, FHSB.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story, sending and receiving mail via the Pony Express.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Is there anything in your life that is not Trauma Olympics?
Susie Moore.
Get out of here and stop playing victim.
Get up, St. Louis.
There's no crying in baseball.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
I'm busy. What are you
we
doing?
Are.
The people need their news, Mike.
I know. We were talking about like parking lot catastrophes.
Parking issues.
Talk about Susie ramming into my vehicle this morning.
Susie being a stereotype, leaning into a stereotype.
The stereotype being
women drivers. I called it on myself.
You weren't driving though. It was a door ding.
Well, no, the parking was the issue.
Yeah.
Like pulling into the parking space was the first issue, and then the door ding was a separate issue. But the women driver thing was
so
me
it
pulling.
turns out you dinged Jerome's Jeep.
My door blew into the side of his Jeep. I don't know if it actually dinged it or not.
Here's the thing: is it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and like 99% of the parking spaces are open right now.
I know.
So one, she doesn't have to park directly next to me. Two, I go outside and she says, "Oh, hey, that's Jerome. Jerome, watch this." Makes eye contact and just rams her.
He's lying now.
Right
He's
into the side of my
totally
Jeep.
lying now. The wind took it and hit it, but it
How
scared
do you like that,
me.
Jerome?
There you go.
That was not what
That's
happened.
for cutting my mic
We're
off.
having
the
a
other
Monday
day.
on a Thursday.
Jeez. All right. The president addresses the nation, reinforcing his resolve when it comes to the Iran war. That's really kind of the big takeaway that he had. Democrats and Republicans still not close to a deal on DHS funding. So Republicans, they're basically close to going it alone on this. And a lot of people watched the Battlehawks beat the Defenders on Saturday. This is interesting. Yeah. 6:07 right now. Let's go ahead and start with the news dump.
The morning news dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The morning news dump.
And this just in, Susie parks too close to other cars in the parking lot.
It's not even that. I'm not getting an angle. Susie
Ow, my
can't.
back, my neck, Susie.
He wasn't in the car. Susie can't park is the gist of it, though.
All right, President Trump is insisting that U.S. forces are going to finish the job in Iran soon.
In a nationwide address, the president defended the war against Iran and proclaimed great progress.
We are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly.
But he said the U.S. military still has work to do.
We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
The president also acknowledged rising oil prices and volatile financial markets, but predicted gas prices will drop and stock prices will go back up. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so I'm going to make the next comment while confessing I didn't bother watching it because I figured I knew what was going to be said, which it sounds like I was right. It was basically an update to what was happening, and there wasn't anything massively new about what he said, but it was doubling down saying this is why we're doing it.
No, the news out of it is that the people that were saying what was going to be in it were wrong. There were flat out predictions that he was going to say we're leaving NATO, that he was going to say something else about, that we've worked out a ceasefire deal. Those were written like Politico. They ran with it, and that wasn't at all what the speech was.
I just assumed it was going to be, we're in this to win it, we're going to finish it up, and so that's basically what it was, essentially.
Correct, yeah.
What, Politico got something wrong? Now I have to deal with knowing that Politico got something wrong?
And their main source for that, or one of their main sources for that, was Steve Bannon. So I'm just going to grin.
I know. There are still people who take him seriously. Anyway.
I'm not
all
going
right.
to say a thing.
Okay. A city police officer dies while on duty. The department says 58-year-old Gregory Triplett suffered a medical emergency during a training exercise. This happened on Wednesday. He had been with the department over 30 years. So the he must have been very popular within the law enforcement community because, I mean, I saw a lot of not just within the department, but those connected to or who work with the department, They were very outspoken with like just grief and shock on this. So I didn't know Officer Triplett, obviously, but he must have been very popular within the community.
I would gather that.
Yeah.
And I guess he was like 58, so he'd
58
been on the
years
force
old,
for a while, was well known, but still there. And yeah, it's just very, very sad situation.
Just short of 32 years on the department, and in which tells me also he probably wasn't that far from retirement.
Probably not.
Yeah. So just very, very sad. We don't know what the medical emergency was, but it doesn't matter. It just happened while they were doing, whatever routine
sort of training
operation. Yeah. Okay. House Republicans, as you know, rejected the Senate's bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security last week, citing, among other things, a lack of funds for ICE and Border Patrol. Now President Trump giving Republicans a new deadline to do something. GOP leaders are announcing a plan for that. Senator Dave McCormick, he's a Republican out of Pennsylvania. He was on Fox Business's Kudlow with David Asman doing the guest hosting.
I think what's going to happen now is, if I'm understanding it correctly, is the House will vote on the Senate bill, and then we'll ultimately move forward on a reconciliation process, which the president insists will be on his desk by June 1st, which will fully fund everything.
Okay, so TSA is now getting paid again, but then there are obviously other concerns on this, and the president's deadline doesn't have any legal weight to it, but that now gives the Republicans something on the calendar to go
benchmark.
After. Yeah.
I haven't seen yet. I meant to go look and see if they've filed a lawsuit yet over the president ordering them paid, via presidential memorandum as opposed to. I would not at all surprise me. They've already sued over the mail-in ballot stuff.
Yep, exactly. Okay, Missouri Right to Life's annual banquet happening next month. This year's keynote is Riley Gaines.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's going to be here. That's happening Wednesday, May 20th at the St. Charles Convention Center. You can get your tickets at MissouriLife.org. So just kind of a heads up on that. All right, 4 astronauts aboard the Artemis II, taken off from the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and it sounded a little something like this.
3, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Okay, so the trip's going to take about 10 days. Artemis II is not actually going to land on the surface of the moon, but it will travel farther. Rather, it's going to travel several thousand miles beyond the moon before making a U-turn and then coming back to Earth. So it's kind of a different trajectory than what we saw in the 60s. Current plans for at least one moon landing and potentially a second are scheduled for 2028. NASA says these will be performed by Artemis 4, and they are slated to explore the South Pole region of the moon. The Artemis 2 crew includes 47-year-old Michigan native Christina Koch, making this is the first time a woman will orbit the moon.
Yes.
I don't know if she's driving or not.
She better stay away from my Jeep.
Sorry, Christina. That's all on me. It's completely on me. She's far away from your Jeep. It's probably safe.
Just saying.
I'm going to go out and take a picture when it's light out.
There you go.
And could completely own myself.
There it is. So I was thinking, man, there's a lot of people like talking about it and thinking, we went to the moon 50 plus years ago.
I was in diapers when they landed on the moon, when Neil Armstrong walked
I wasn't quite around just
you were
yet.
twinkling your daddy's eye.
I was. And so I'm thinking, man, but people are really kind of excited about this. I'm thinking, what kind of expert nerd could we get to talk about this? Do we know anybody?
We might know someone.
I know somebody. So 6:35, our very own Gabe Phifer. Do you know what Gabe, at his senior project that he had to do at MIT, he told me once?
I don't know.
What his senior project was.
Uh-uh.
He had to he designed a moon rover for his senior project at MIT.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah. So we're going to talk to Gabe here in just a little bit. Okay, Cardinals get the series win over the Mets with a walk-off. Mason Wynn drove in J.J. Weatherholt with a single in the bottom of the 11th to win the game. Final score 2-1. Redbirds win the series 2-1. As a result, today is a travel day. The Cardinals will have their first road game of the season Friday against the Tigers. So the Cardinals have won their first 2 series.
Nice.
So they're 4-2. They've won each series 2-1.
So you're saying there's a chance.
They're saying there's a chance. But unfortunately, after getting that walk-off hit, Mason Wynn then ended up in a single car wreck on I-64. Yeah,
I was not involved.
No. He was checked out at the hospital. He was not hurt, other than maybe a little shaken up a little bit. The team says the accident was due to wet pavement. that happened. Now, that was a daytime game, so that actually tracks time.
I don't doubt it because, as I told you on the way in yesterday, a car spun out in front of me.
Yep.
That had nothing to do with me. It was just in front of me.
All right, the Blues take the Kings into overtime, but they end up losing 2-1. Unfortunately, road trip continues with a game against the Ducks on Friday. That's obviously going to be in Anaheim. Saturday's Battlehawks game was a hit on TV.
Really?
Okay, according to the Nielsen ratings, the season opener with the DC Defenders was the second most watched UFL game ever on ESPN.
Wow.
938,000 viewers watched the Battlehawks get the win at the Dome.
Nice.
That's a huge number.
That is.
The UFL's TV audience on ESPN overall, because they do the two games, that was overall up 50% compared to week 1 last year.
Nice.
Stop right now before you blow us all away. Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The cross between Socrates and Dirty Harry.
On News Talk STL. Tuesday, April 7th, your community is on the ballot. And before you vote, you need to know what you're voting on.
School board, city council.
News Talk STL has you covered. Log on to NewsTalkSTL.com for our complete voter's guide. See the issues and races on your local ballot. Know the facts. Make your choice.
I think we need some kind of change.
Then get out and vote. Because local elections aren't decided by millions. They're decided by you.
My vote counts.
See the complete voter's guide at NewsTalkSTL.com.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com. Hanson's Tree Service at Hanson'sTree.com is your one-stop shop for expert insured tree care and more in the greater St. Louis region and at the Lake of the Ozarks. Visit Hanson'sTree.com for 24/7 emergency tree care, grinding and land clearing, awesome organic mulch, green resource recycling, and more. Tim Jones here to tell you that whether you're dealing with old man winter at your home or business in the St. Louis region or preparing your lake home for spring, call Hanson's to help you out. No job too big or too small. Mention News Talk STL. Receive 10% off all tree care services. Hanson'sTree.com, Hanson'sTree.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
It's a good thing you're a good sport, Susie.
I was just pointing to the screen because right at that moment it said forecast wind gusts, and it was talking about heavy wind gusts, so that plays into my the door situation.
You kind of opened up a little bit of a hornet's nest there.
I will completely fall on the sword. When I screw something up or do something dorky or goofy, I will own it.
Oh, man. All right. The Supreme Court hears the arguments about the meaning of the 14th Amendment. So we'll get into that. There's a lot of people talking about that. I think there's a lot of people also, I noticed a number of kind of some of the conservative reporters, not even just the pundits, but some of the reporters are going, I think the Trump administration is going to lose this one. So we'll get into that one here in just a moment, because I'm going to argue if he loses, which I'm among those who from what I can, my non-trained, just observer sort of status, I think he's going to lose it too, but I don't know that if he loses, he really loses. And I'll explain that in just a minute here. So 6:18 right now. Just mentioned this in the news dump. Missouri Right to Life's annual banquet. Man, that's coming up again. It just seems like just like last
Blink
week
of an
that
eye.
we had the last one. So this is going to be at the St. Charles Convention Center again, like it was last year. I think it's there pretty much every year. But this thing is always packed. So if you want to go, I would go to the Missouri Right to Life's website now and either get your individual tickets or get your table. You know, if you want to have your group or your church or your township Republican club or whatever it is, to do that. Featured speaker this year is Riley Gaines, which honestly I think is going to be far more interesting than last year's. And so I think that I'm looking forward to that. I'm already kind of working on Missouri. Like, hey, I want Riley on the show. We'll try to get her.
Yeah.
So she's going to be there. And here's the reason why I'm going to put a little more emphasis on it this year, because last year, obviously we partnered with Missouri Right to Life. We're very proud to do so. They handle the political and the policy side, so we're very proud to work with them. But it's crucial this year. Steve Rupp at last year's banquet. Were you at the banquet last year?
I was not.
Okay, so he said something that really struck me, and he said that basically the whole nation is watching what happens with the good Amendment 3 in Missouri as a bellwether for the rest of the country. Because basically when Missouri voters fell for the old bad Amendment 3, that sent some shockwaves through the pro-life community, because Missouri is such a red state and it's generally a conservative state.
Right.
And so that was a massive loss for the cause of life in the country. And Steve mentioned from the podium last year that if we can't win in Missouri, it makes it harder to win everywhere else. Now, my focus is on Missouri. Eventually we need to focus on Illinois too, but right now that there's just no policy way to do that.
Right.
But in Missouri right now, it is absolutely crucial. So this year's banquet, and yes, this is a big fundraiser for Missouri Right to Life. They are the ones who are leading the effort to pass the good Amendment 3, the new Amendment 3. And this isn't just about a political win because we want the other side to lose. This is literally a life and death issue. So the banquet, they're fun. The food's good. They take good care of you. It's a good time. It's great networking and all that. But understand that this is more than just a banquet, because I want to be involved and be around other pro-life people, other conservative people. This is a launching pad into the next stage of trying to make Missouri pro-life again, which is kind of the theme of the whole banquet.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line here, and it's going to be important. It's an important fight, and I am I'm really hoping that we can kind of help get the messaging.
Get it right.
Get it right.
Yeah.
So that it catches people's attention and really helps them understand what's at stake here.
Because we are going to be up against tens of millions of dollars of dishonest ads and media campaigns and mainstream media coverage on this. So understand that we are the underdog.
Big time.
In this.
Big time. And the other thing, too, is think about, there's a lot of people kind of in that middle range where they're not actively pro-abortion, but they're kind of like, well, we still need the right. And they're like, well, we already settled it. We just did this like 2 years ago, so why are we doing it again?
Right.
They're not going to be engaged. They're not going to want to go back and vote on this again.
Yeah, exactly. So it's important to be there. This will sell out. So get your tickets, get your table, be sure to do that. All right. 6:22 right now. I know you didn't listen to like the whole thing yesterday, but you were checking out some of the arguments.
Multitasking while the arguments were on.
Right. So the 14th Amendment, and people have really dialed into this in a big way on both sides of the issue here. And what's interesting is there's the question as to what we think the government should recognize as far as citizenship. And then there's but what does that language say? Because people will say, well, what does the plain language of the Constitution say? It's not that plain. For the 14th Amendment. It's the interpretation of it. And so the president, signs his order saying, this is how the federal government interprets the 14th Amendment. It means this. Well, he knew that there were going to be lawsuits. I think he wanted this to go to the Supreme
That was
Court.
by design, yes.
Yeah, and so it gets where he wanted this to go, which is where it should have gone. And I just caught bits and pieces of it. You caught a lot more of it than I did. But when I'm looking at and I try to read both media coverage from the left and media coverage from the right on this, they all seem to be saying about the same thing. Majority of the justices seem to be skeptical at best of the president's interpretation, because basically for over 100 years, but close to 150 years, the widely accepted, generally speaking, is if you're born here, you're a U.S. citizen, and that's what's being challenged by the president. And the justices seemed really skeptical of that. So let's assess that, and then I'll get into why, if the president loses, I don't know that he necessarily loses.
So the first thing I want to point out is that for all of the people gnashing their teeth and throwing a fit over the fact that the president attended the argument, which he attended the whole of the Solicitor General's argument and part of the ACLU's argument. He didn't jump up on the table and beat his chest. He didn't throw anything at the justices. As far as I can tell, he comported himself just fine. So y'all can rest easy now.
I did read that was the first time a president had ever sat in
maybe for an argument.
Yeah, for an argument.
There is a chair there that's designated as the president's chair, but more from ceremonial stuff.
Right, but apparently that was the first time.
Right, so fine to recognize that it's like a big deal, but people that were like having a cow over it, it's like, do you think he's going to like create a big scene? No, he was there to watch the argument.
Right.
And he did.
Which is his right.
Completely.
Yeah.
So there's that. I also caution people, there's anybody who tells you for sure what's going to happen is full of it.
Oh, sure.
Because you don't know. Right. The justices don't even know for sure. They're going to hash this out, and there's going to be back and forth, and there's going to be opinions revised and rewritten. It's, we don't know what's ultimately going to end up happening. Even when you look at the way the tenor of the questions, you can say, oh, they seem very skeptical. That may very well be, but that doesn't always tell you where they're going to end up landing. Sometimes they're being very skeptical to make sure that where they come down is actually sound.
Right.
So it's very, very hard. Reading between the lines of the tenor of the questions, it did seem like and you got to realize this is an uphill battle because you've got this, 150 years of accepted practice. So yeah, it is a heavy lift. What my gut tells me is this is likely to be one of those decisions that has kind of a mishmash. It's not going to be like 6-3. It's not going to be 8-1. Mm-hmm. It's probably going to be 5 here, but 3 that kind of overlap with that, and 3 that kind of do this. And it's going to be one of those that's maybe a little hard to suss out.
Yeah, and I have no reason to question that gut guess on that. My hope is that one way or the other, they declare what the 14th Amendment means. And I just don't. Yeah, because this is one of those things where, whether we like it or don't like it, we need to know what the rules are. And I'm hearing from you that may not end up being as clear cut as we would hope, one way or the other.
Was it Mike O'Neill that was talking about, the principle of avoidance?
Yes.
Which is Chief Justice Roberts' signature. I mean, that is basically like, if there's a way, if there's an off-ramp, if there's a way for them to not directly address it by addressing something else preliminarily, that's probably the way they're going to go.
Isn't that the Supreme Court's job, though? In cases like this?
Yes and no. I mean, that's a philosophical difference, just like there are people who are originalists and people who are textualists, that sort of thing. Right. There's a difference of opinion about what their role is. Chief Justice Roberts is of the school that the court is supposed to be the least involved, the least activist. It's not supposed to be writing laws. And so if there's any chance that it's really should be pushed back on Congress or pushed back on the president, the court's going to stay out of it. And there's some sound reason for that.
There's some merit to that.
But it's frustrating when you have an issue like this that seems like it's just teed up right there. It would be nice to have a definitive answer.
Okay, here's what I mean when I say, even if the president loses, and just based on what I'm saying, I think he might lose on this. So before you get all apocalyptic about it,
it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, but if he loses, then I think the attention should immediately, connected to this, go, this is why it's crucial to close the border. This is why it's crucial we enforce immigration laws. This is why it's crucial we find those in this country illegally and get them out. That is why I think if the president loses on this, it solidifies and it supports many of his immigration, if not most of his immigration policies. So I'm not sure that he loses entirely if he loses in this particular case.
If we had a functioning legislative branch, then it would, first of all, most of this would be moot.
Yeah.
Because they would be actually doing their jobs, and they would be, okay, if there's a question about how something is construed or how a statute is interpreted, we'll clarify the statute. We'll clean this up. We'll close any loopholes that allow for birth or tourism. I can't say it. But no, I mean, we're hung up over whether or not we should vote about whether there's voter ID.
Right. By the way, next hour, I've got a really good one on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's if Congress wasn't as dysfunctional as it is, a lot of this wouldn't be going on. First of all, because the president wouldn't be like, okay, well, I'm just going to come in with my pen and fix it for you.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have to.
Right.
But
yeah, and the argument is, does he have the authority to do that? I mean, that's essentially part of what they're looking at.
Part of it, yeah.
But he's pushed it in a way that they're being asked to determine this is what the 14th Amendment means, and this is how we shall interpret it. Whether they take that up in that way, like you said, remains to be seen.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to remember the executive branch is tasked with enforcing immigration law. I mean, Congress passed the immigration laws, but the executive branch has to enforce it. So it's fair to say, well, we got to understand what we're enforcing.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and we're probably looking at, what, June?
It'll be the end of June.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I would like to remind everybody real quick that we're approaching that time of day where it's your last chance to submit your 80s bumped music request for Flashback Friday. So send me what you want to hear. It has to be charting in the 80s, but send it to me, Jerome, at NewsTalkSTL.com, and remind me when you listen so you can hear your request.
It happened if I say it's your picture as I pay.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Someone in that control room is out of control.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking a first alert weather day as we head off towards the afternoon hours starting at 1 o'clock, lasting through about 11 p.m. tonight. We're going to be looking for the possibility of a few isolated strong to severe storms. That'll start to taper off. Highs this afternoon still back towards the upper 70s into Friday, 82 degrees, looking dry throughout much of the day. Then late Friday night could see some strong to severe storms. We'll continue to keep a close eye. Those will turn into showers Saturday, exiting by Saturday afternoon. Sunday looking dry for Easter. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Stan Katz.
I was elected in 2023 to bring common sense and conservatism back to the classroom. Despite my hard work, there's still much to do. Hi, my name is Jane Pushkar, and I'm running for the Francis Howell School Board. I can continue the hard work of fiscal responsibility, parental rights, and returning to research-based curriculum and resources. It's a tall order, but after successfully removing many pornographic books, I've proven that parental rights are never to be ignored. Your vote is critical this year, so please vote for the top 3 conservative candidates on the ballot.
Paid for by Citizens for Jane Pushkar. Ron Pushkar, Treasurer.
Tim Jones here from my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Simply put, they've helped me on many occasions. Here's another solution to your everyday aches and pains. The Studio Health and Wellness Center. Services include Pilates and yoga, both with certified instructors. I can also highly recommend the massage therapy, which is not an indulgence. It's a proven method of healing and restoration. Trust my friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka. cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
Craving seafood but worried it'll be too spicy or break the bank? La Juicy Seafood in O'Fallon has you covered. They're not your typical seafood joint. Choose from 5 spice levels, including not spicy, so everyone can enjoy our famous Cajun boils. Bring the family, doodle on the tables, enjoy the full bar with legendary margaritas, and feel right at home. La Juicy Seafood, 373 Winding Woods Drive, O'Fallon. Call 696-924-9171.
The news and talk.
We definitely hope and pray for a regime change. The Iranian people deserve much better.
That matters to St. Louis.
Iran has no air defenses. Iran has no navy.
And it's going to be over with pretty soon.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Rocket Man, burning out his fuse out of Ferguson.
Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, on this historic mission, you take with you the heart of this Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people and our partners across the globe, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis 2. Let's go.
1 minute 50 seconds of mission elapsed time, standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%, ahead of solid rocket booster separation, expected at the 2 minute 9 second mark.
Artemis 2 now in outer space, launching last night.
Yeah.
Boy, that is some big, dramatic stuff that they write into the mission control on there. But something about going into outer space.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Now, we find that fascinating. But you know who is probably totally geeking out over this? I say was, and what I say was probably still is, would be our very own Gabe Phifer, who joins us right now, our own rocket scientist. All right, Gabe. I figured you might have a passing interest in this. Just saying.
Yeah, just a wee bit. Good morning, wake up crew. Yeah, I am so very, very excited about this whole thing. I keep looking around. It's like, is anybody else as excited as I am about this? Apparently not. I don't think so. The news seems more sparse than I think it should be for such a historic moment.
So, and by the way, we're seeing a lot of people, like we've even had some people today saying, hey, the Artemis launch was more interesting than even the president's speech because we knew
by
it was
far.
Good, and so there are a lot of people who are. So here's the question. We're not actually landing on the moon. We're basically doing a drive-by and we're going a little bit farther and doing a U-turn and coming back and all that sort of thing. From the scientific perspective, from the exploration perspective, we went to the moon over 50 years ago, as everybody knows, Gabe. Why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this?
Well, I think this is really kind of the stepping stone to becoming essentially a multiplanetary species. The whole idea, the end goal of Artemis is to get to Mars. Actually, the moon is our stop off, basically. So this is the closest body that we can get to run the experiment of what it would be like for a human to live on a planet that isn't Earth, or I should say a body. The moon isn't a planet, obviously, but so we're going to have a permanent presence on the moon very, very soon. And it's going to give us a lot of opportunities for humans to understand what it's like living elsewhere, essentially. And there's so many unknowns. I think people get this idea that, well, once you do it once, it's kind of a one and done. No, this is an ongoing contingency dealing with all of the challenges that go along with living someplace that we are not designed to live.
So we're going to become extraterrestrial is the point, right?
Yeah, we're going to be the aliens. No, I mean, well, one of the goals, I think one of Elon Musk's goals, that he stated many times is that in order for us to advance as a species, we do need to become multiplanetary. So the concept of humans being born on Mars and literally being Martian is part of that whole deal.
And some of them will probably be Elon's children. So, Gabe, we touched on this a little bit, but Red State, by the way, has had quite a bit of coverage of the Artemis launch, and I was very stoked about it. In fact, wrote about it in my Morning Minute yesterday, because I was in diapers when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, so obviously don't remember it. And then the Apollo missions ended when I was, in nursery school. So this is, the first time we're really seriously doing this in 50 years. And I'm thinking about the difference between the technology. Are you able to put into words that some of us non-rocket scientists can understand the difference in the technology then versus now? Sure.
I think computing power obviously is the biggest one, and it's the easiest one to point to. So, during my college career, we were required essentially to have a graphing calculator, right? The giant chunks that had all the buttons that only so many people knew how to use. There was more computing power in that than there was in any particular Apollo capsule. So that's the kind of level of technology that we were somehow able to put people on the moon back in the 70s, and it was basically the Wild Wild West back then. The Cold War was going, so it was very much duct tape and chicken wire to get us there, but they managed to do so. Right now, the technology has become obviously much more advanced on the computing side. In terms of materials, we've actually changed the types of materials we use. A lot more composites in the way we're trying to lighten up the loads. That's one of the keys is making it cheaper to get to leave the planet. So weight is a big deal, and we've been able to have lighter and stronger materials. And then, of course, the rocket technology itself, having more efficient systems and things like that, also a means by which to make it cheaper.
You know the voice. That's obviously Gabe Phifer, our resident aerospace nerd. And we all know that I don't mean that as an insult. That's what you say, Gabe.
Yes,
of course.
Yes,
precisely.
That is
Self-proclaimed.
Okay, so let's talk about obviously the what's in it for us kind of situation. We've referenced the exploration aspect of it, getting to Mars. Why is it that we should want to do that? Is it just to show that we can? Is there a scientific benefit? Is there a health benefit? Is there some kind of materialistic benefit that we can look to down the road for generations beyond? Because it's not something probably we're going to see in our lifetime. But what is it we're laying the foundation for by doing this? And what are they looking at on the moon? I mean, what is the ground laying sort of foundational purpose of this trip?
You mentioned a number of areas where there are potential benefits. Just like, is it this? Is it this? The answer is yes, all of the above. The getting there, just the technology required to do the things that we've done just now has I think moved along certain technologies that are definitely going to benefit air travel. They're going to benefit us in terms of materials, in terms of vehicles, making them lighter and stronger. The computing technology. That I keep talking about Elon like I'm his bro, but he's kind of an incredible guy. And one of the things that he's done with his various companies is he's kind of synergized a lot of these things. The computing technology you're seeing in things like XAI and the Optimus robot he's trying to develop, and the self-driving capabilities of the Tesla. All of those things are kind of related, and he's showing right now the terrestrial applications of things that he can use to get us to Mars. So in a lot of ways, he's kind of showing us, this is the benefit of doing this. The other aspect of it is the health benefits, and I think people don't give that as much attention as it probably deserves as well. Showing what the human body does in microgravity first, in terms of being in orbit and things like that, and of course in the lesser gravity of the moon, could benefit us in understanding how the body works. What affects the way, what physical factors affect the way we perform as humans, and all of those things are going to be to our benefit.
And real quick question came in on Rumble from Scooter. Gabe said, and I think you actually mentioned something to this effect a second ago. Is the plan to launch our Mars mission? Is it the plan to launch our Mars mission from the moon as opposed to from Earth? I think that's what he's asking.
I can't speak specifically to the Mars portion. I think they're still in planning phases on that. But there are several ideas. One of them being using the moon as a refueling station, so that you don't have to carry all of the fuel from Earth to get all the way to Mars. You go from Earth, refuel at the moon, and then continue on. Like I said, getting weight off of the planet is very, very difficult. There are a number of ideas on the table, but we're not going to know until we do the whole moon thing. There's the Artemis program. I think right now the published milestones are over the course of the next few years. We're going to have yearly launches. So we've got this one, which is basically the human test. We're going to have an equipment test next year for the landers and all those systems. Now they're just going to go to low Earth orbit with that. But the very next year, 2028, moon, boots on the moon again. So that's that, and that will be the start. And every year thereafter, there are going to be construction and resupply missions for building that permanent base. So we're going to learn a whole lot in that period, and then it's off to Mars.
So, Gabe, can we talk about the turlet?
Sure.
I don't know if folks know, but in the proverbial Houston, we have a problem. Not long after things were launched, there became an issue on on the ship there with the toilet. But it seems like they may have gotten it remedied. But what can you tell us about that?
Now, I don't know the specifics, but I will say this: doing everything in space, just living, is difficult.
Sure.
Every little thing that we take for granted, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to walk over down the toilet and evacuate. Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you're not under gravity, when you're in microgravity, the toilet has to work very, very specifically. Otherwise,
the toilet has to come to you
goes everywhere.
Yes.
The toilet has to come to you. Exactly.
I'm still processing evacuate.
It's a proper technical term, medical term.
That is the proper technical term.
It is.
That is the proper term. And yes, it is very specifically one of those issues that you'd be surprised how much the toilet on any space mission, human space mission, costs, just because it has all of those challenges. So I imagine there was probably something wrong with its ability to do that, to contain the matter and prevent smells from entering the cabin. Because the thing is, once a smell gets into the air in a closed system like a spaceship,
you can't roll down the window and just
No, there is no infusion of new air. It's all the same air.
No Scentsy candles either.
So much you can scrub. Nope. No, you don't want anything burning up there.
Okay, so obviously we're talking to our good friend Gabe Phifer. So last couple minutes we've got here, Gabe. Obviously these are high risk. You talked about the advancements in technology, the advancements of what we know, and then we're still planning out the process. What are the things that NASA, that who else is involved with this? I mean, whether it's SpaceX or whoever it is, when they look to build these types of missions, what are the risks they need to keep in mind when building not just a mission like this, but what's ahead and what's next?
Oh yeah, there are many, many risks. I mean, just the basic risks. Obviously, for those of us who grew up in the shuttle age, you remember Challenger. Just the basic risks of getting off the planet with a giant explosion machine strapped beneath you. That carries its own risk. Vibration, temperature fluctuations, space radiation. There are many of these factors that have to be taken into account when you're designing these systems, and of course the computing power to make sure that your trajectory is correct. Because being off by just a little eventually explodes into a major problem. This is the danger of orbital mechanics, essentially. So if you're off, like, let's say 0.1 degree in your re-entry, we'll say, you're going to burn up in the atmosphere or bounce off the atmosphere out into deep space.
That's a problem.
Never to be returned again.
Yeah, so basically the difference between becoming Neil Armstrong versus Major Tom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so all of those challenges, and then of course, as I mentioned, the challenges of living in space. Once you add humans into the mix, then it's even a bigger deal. So all of those things. This is why when we talk about things like brain surgery and rocket science being hard, that's the hard part.
All right, Gabe Phifer, once again, we miss you, man. Thanks for checking back in.
Hey, thanks for letting me talk a little bit about my nerd stuff.
Love it. Wouldn't want anybody else to do it.
We'll
Gabe, thank
we'll
you
talk
so
to you
much.
again soon, man. Thanks.
Miss you guys. God bless.
On a slightly more somber note, St. Louis police are mourning the loss of one of their own, and we're going to talk to you about that, about what happened in the news dump at 6:50.
Rocket Man, burning out his fuse out of Ferguson.
Mike Ferguson.
We can't have madmen shooting rockets all over the place.
Smoozy Q.
Why do you want to be here? Why do you love space?
We're going back to the f***ing moon, that's why.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
License number GL250000615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No.
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about,
If it's not the big three, don't flush it.
but if someone does flush a dinosaur?
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Want a hands-free light that does not strap to your head or held in your mouth? Meet Dex Fingerlight at fingerlight.com. The Kryptonite ring fits any finger, pointing light exactly where you need it. Place decoys, handle gear, get close to roosted gobblers, fast, easy, stealthily. 3 light modes, waterproof, extremely durable. Developed by a father and son's Missouri team, Dex Fingerlight is faster and easier than a headlamp. Use discount code TONY20 for 20% off at fingerlight.com.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Okay, the president addresses the nation, essentially reinforcing his resolve when it comes to the Iran war. That's really what the speech was all about. Democrats and Republicans, they don't have a deal on DHS funding still. So Republicans basically are one step closer, just doing it on their own. And a lot of people watching that Battlehawks game beating the Defenders on Saturday. I mean, these numbers were kind of eye-opening. I think a lot of people are like, oh, UFL's for real. This is a real deal. And St. Louis is leading the way. All right, 6:51 right now. Let's go ahead and do another news dump.
Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news.
The Morning News Dump.
Okay, President Trump insisting that U.S. forces will finish the job in Iran, and they're going to do it soon.
In a nationwide address, the president defended the war against Iran and proclaimed great progress.
We are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly.
But he said the U.S. military still has work to do.
We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
The president also acknowledged rising oil prices and volatile financial markets, but predicted gas prices will drop and stock prices will go back up. Greg Clugston, Washington.
All right, so really no new information or new policies, essentially saying this is why we're still in it. This is what we're going to do. He didn't give a specific timeline, but he was doing the sooner rather than later concept, essentially.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, as Susie mentioned just a couple minutes ago, a city police officer dies while on duty. The St. Louis City Police Department, Metropolitan Police Department, says 58-year-old Gregory Triplett suffered a medical emergency during a training exercise on Wednesday. He had been with the department for over 30 years.
Yeah, very, very sad.
Yeah. And we don't have any other details on that, but it appears to be a natural causes kind of situation.
That's the impression you get.
Okay, House Republicans, as you know, they rejected the Senate bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security, talking about a lack of funds for ICE and Border Patrol. Now, President Trump giving Republicans a new deadline to do something. There's no legal weight to that. That's just the goal that he wants on the calendar for them. And GOP leaders are announcing a plan now to essentially try to get there. Pennsylvania Republican Senator Dave McCormick was on Fox Business's Kudlow with guest host David Asman.
I think what's going to happen now is, if I'm understanding it correctly, is the House will vote on the Senate bill, and then we'll ultimately move forward on a reconciliation process, which the president insists will be on his desk by June 1st, which will fully fund everything.
DHS has been, or at least parts of DHS have been shut down for about 2 months now. So the TSA is getting paid, at least for now. Obviously, there are other concerns right now since security terror threats are elevated because, among other things, the war in Iran. If we're going to have a hissy fit over funding of Homeland Security, this ain't really the best time to do it.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? Well, we'll wait and see, I guess.
Well, the Republicans are going to have to figure out how to get their act together and work together between the House and the Senate.
That's
what
pretty,
it comes down to.
Pretty tall order there, Susie.
I'm a dreamer. Can I say?
My goodness. All right. Missouri Right to Life's annual banquet happening next month. This year's keynote speaker is Riley Gaines.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So this is happening Wednesday, May 20th at the St. Charles Convention Center. Here's why I'm telling you this now, and I'm putting it in the news here. If you say, ooh, I want to be a part of that, you can't wait till May 19th to get your ticket.
No.
I wouldn't even wait till the end of April to get your ticket. These things are going to sell out. This is the biggest, if not one of the biggest, fundraisers for Missouri Right to Life. But the big reason right now is that Missouri Right to Life is they are coordinating the campaign to pass the new Pro-Life Amendment 3 that's on the ballot sometime later this year. We don't know whether it's going to be August or November yet. But this is a crucial step in getting all of that to the next level of that campaign. And also Riley Gaines is going to be there, which I think is going to be
Right, that's a big draw.
I think it's a big draw. I'm really interested to hear what she has to say. I'm gonna be there. So this is gonna be, like I said, at the St. Charles Convention Center, same place it was last year. The protesters along the side of the road by the roundabout there by the convention center, those are always so much fun to drive through.
Oh, I'm sure.
Their nose rings and hair are just about as colorful as their signs. So I was literally laughing out loud when I was driving through them. I mean, they weren't laughing at me, but you know,
more power to them as long as they are not blocking the
roads.
roads.
They didn't do that. No, they stayed where they were supposed to say. They were having their say, just like just like First Amendment says you're supposed to be able to.
Absolutely.
All right, get your tickets at MissouriLife.org. Just Google search Missouri Right to Life, and you'll find it right there. Okay, Cardinals get the series win over the Mets with a walk-off. Mason Wynn drove in J.J. Weatherholt with a single in the bottom of the 11th inning to win that game. Final score 2-1. So the Redbirds win the series.
Take that, Pond Scum.
That's right. Pond Scum. Boy, I forgot about that.
The Mets are Pond Scum.
Yeah, back in
I think I still have my T-shirt.
That goes back to like 88 or something like that.
Might even, yeah.
Yeah, something. Yeah, that's right. The Pond Scum. Today's a travel day for the Cardinals. They have their first road game of the season on Friday against the Detroit Tigers. So by the way, that means right now the bet between Scooter and I, he's winning.
He is winning.
Because, I say, now listen, I'm going to go to some Cardinals games this year. I think the front office is making it clear. They're working. They're spending. They are building a team. My guess is they're still going to probably end up last place in the division, but I think fans should still get out there to support them anyway because the front office is saying, message received, we're doing something.
Right.
Scooter says they're not going to finish in last place. So if Scooter is right, and the Cardinals are not in last place, I'm making a donation to the food bank.
That's right.
If I'm right and the Cardinals finish in last place, even though I think we should be out there to support him, Scooter's making a donation to the food bank.
There you go.
And regardless of which one of you wins bet, I'll match whatever donation you guys.
There you go. Exactly. So
nice.
I don't think we decided on a dollar amount. Doesn't matter. We'll do it. So Scooter, send me a number there. All right. The Blues take the Kings into overtime, but they end up losing the game 2-1. Their road trip continues with a game against the Ducks on Friday. That's obviously going to be in Anaheim. Saturday's Battlehawks game was a hit on TV.
Wow.
Yeah. According to the Nielsen ratings, the season opener with the DC Defenders was the second most watched UFL game ever on ESPN.
Wow.
Yeah, ever. 938,000 viewers watched the Battlehawks get the win at the Dome. Over 31,000 fans were at the Dome there as well. The UFL's audience on ESPN overall for the whole day, for the whole weekend there, was up 50% compared to opening on week one last year.
Impressive.
So a lot of momentum for the UFL, and don't kid yourself, much of that is because of St. Louis.
True.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason.
We are going to finish the job, and we're going to finish it very fast.
President Trump addressing the nation from the White House last evening, saying that all of America's core strategic objectives in the Iran war are nearly achieved. Chief among those objectives is making sure Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. The president's calling on other nations to retake the strategic Strait of Hormuz from Iran and keep the strait open.
Build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it with us, as we asked. Go to the strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done, so it should be easy.
As the president demands that Iran make a deal with the U.S. and as ceasefire talks continue.
Iran has responded to President Donald Trump's address to Americans on the war with new missile attacks targeting Israel and the Gulf Arab states, underlining Tehran's insistence that it rejects Washington's outreach for a ceasefire while maintaining its grip on the Strait of Hormuz. Britain Thursday plans to hold a call with nearly 36 countries about how to reopen the strait, through which 20% of all oil and natural gas traded passes in peacetime. The call will discuss diplomatic and political measures that could restore shipping once the fighting's over. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The long-running partial government shutdown may be over soon. There is a fresh Republican-authored plan for funding the Department of Homeland Security, and the Senate may take up that proposal as early as today. A historic moon mission underway. Last evening's launch of 4 astronauts from the Kennedy Space Center. NASA's Artemis II mission will see those astronauts make a lunar fly-around. Watching Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures down 632 points. NASDAQ futures off 482. More on these stories, townhall.com.
A sacred season is approaching, a time to remember God's deliverance, the night he brought his people out of bondage and into freedom, Passover. This year, many of God's people will observe Passover under the shadow of war. Across Israel, red alert sirens pierce the air. Families rush to shelters with just seconds to spare. The elderly fear they'll be left behind. Parents hold frightened children as explosions shake the night. Sleeplessness and uncertainty are now part of daily life there. But Passover reminds us that God hears the cries of his people and answers with love and compassion. That's why the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground in Israel, providing food and emergency supplies, equipping bomb shelters, and caring for the elderly and Holocaust survivors, bringing comfort and safety to God's children. Join Christians around the world in praying for Israel during this sacred Passover season, asking God to bring protection, comfort, and peace to the Holy Land. Stand with Israel in prayer today by visiting supportifcj.org. That's supportifcj.org.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your First Alert forecast. We're going to be tracking a First Alert weather day as we head off towards the afternoon hours starting at 1 o'clock, lasting through about 11 p.m. tonight. We're going to be looking for the possibility of a few isolated strong to severe storms. That'll start to taper off. Highs this afternoon still back towards the upper 70s into Friday, 82 degrees, looking dry throughout much of the day. Then late Friday night could see some strong to severe storms. We'll continue to keep a close eye. Those will turn into showers Saturday, exiting by Saturday afternoon. Sunday looking dry for Easter. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Stan Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Streaming TV is where it's at. It's not about cutting the cord anymore. That's old news. It's all about your customized TV options. With the best and cheapest high-speed internet and your own TV subscriptions, we've got your dream TV lineup. Between wired and satellite internet and TV, you now have tons of options. Save money and get more internet speed and better TV today by calling the Whole Home Connect. We scan your location and offer you the best TV and internet options. And we always have specials and promotions. So when you call, ask about that. Take 5 minutes of your time. Make this free call now and learn how to save money and get better internet and TV for your home anywhere in the U.S. Make this simple and free call now.
800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. That's 800-257-1632.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no from anyone.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, you know what today is?
Thursday?
Thursday. But we are now 1 year into the so-called Liberation Day taxes. Or tariffs, if you prefer, however you want to say it. But we're 1 year now into that. It just seems like...
It doesn't seem a year ago.
I know. We're just overwhelmed by a bunch of stuff. Okay, so where are we? What's been the impact on this? And this, it's interesting because you've got everybody looking at the exact same stuff, but coming to completely different conclusions.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways.
Rorschach.
We're now joined by Bryan Riley, Bryan, back on the show here from the National Taxpayers Union. Bryan, appreciate you being on the program here. I have a feeling that you and I are going to see this in a pretty similar way, but we also know that among those on the right, there's a lot of people who aren't going to see it the same way that we see it. I referred to them early on, Liberation Day taxes, because that's what tariffs are. A lot of people say, no, these are tariffs, and look at how much money the government's collected. It's obviously been good for us because we're changing, manufacturing and all this sort of thing. Let's lay out the bottom line. We're 1 year into this. What has been the most direct impact of the sort of trade war that was started with some of these tax policies?
Well, in my opinion, the most direct impact was about $200 billion in taxes, mostly paid by Americans, whether importers or consumers. So it's I certainly noticed when you described this as a Liberation Day tax anniversary. Tariffs are literally, by definition, a tax on imports. So a lot of taxes, that's the most significant thing from National Taxpayers Union's standpoint. But the other thing that I think is so important, the whole justification for the taxes was allegedly we have these huge, costly trade deficits, and we've got to get rid of trade deficits. And guess what? Our trade deficit got bigger. And most people, I think, that understand how this stuff works would not particularly be surprised by that. So, if you ask me if the goal of the taxes was to reduce the trade deficit and it didn't work, maybe we ought to get rid of the taxes instead of, coming up with new excuses to extend them.
Good morning, Bryan. This is Susie Moore. Okay, so I have it was probably a layperson's question about tariffs and taxes. My limited understanding is that, and when you're talking about taxation, which let's just acknowledge is a negative but is a necessary evil in some respects, it's preferable to have consumption taxes over income taxes or wealth taxes, something that taxes consumption rather than productivity, so to speak. So if someone is arguing that a consumption tax is preferable to an income tax, why then are tariffs, even if they're taxes, aren't they essentially consumption taxes?
They are absolutely a form of consumption tax. So they could be supported based on the description that you accurately provided, with one big exception. Most economists, if you're going to go sit in an economist class, public finance class, they're going to say consumption taxes are good as long as they're broad-based and affect everybody equally. These import taxes are not broad-based. They pick winners and losers, and they distort the economy by only hitting certain goods and not all goods. These consumption taxes also have an additional cost to Americans, where they're not just a tax on imports, but they affect U.S. exporters. So if you're, say, a soybean farmer in Missouri or Illinois or wherever, you have fewer export markets. Not only are you paying more for your inputs, but you can't export as much. So that's why, although you're correct, these are a consumption tax, I just don't think they're a very good consumption tax. It's tough to get into a debate on what's the best type of tax, when to me the big problem is the government spends too much money.
Sure.
But I do hear people who say, we want these taxes to fund the government. Well, that's going to be a difficult challenge if we go down that road.
There were probably some people, Brian, who, when you said our trade deficit got worse, who would say, how is that even possible? Because we heard so many stories in either local media or conservative media about saying, well, to avoid the taxes, this company is going to start manufacturing here. This company is not going to start, or they're going to stop exporting whatever things, contractors or sourcing or parts or whatever the case is. So we've seen some news stories saying, no, but wait a minute, the protectionism is actually worsening. How much did the trade deficit change? Which, by the way, I'm one of those, I don't really care that much about the trade deficit. That just means we're buying stuff cheaper for what we need here. But how much did it change, and why? Why would the tariffs have that adverse effect from what we were told they were supposed to do?
Right. I mean, I should have said, you're 100% accurate. I should have said the trade deficit got bigger, not that it got worse, because a bigger trade deficit in and of itself just reflects other factors. If we're richer, we can afford to import more. If our trading partners want to invest in our economy, invest in the stock market, build automobile factories, that all benefits us regardless of the impact on the trade deficit. So the deficit went up a little bit. It didn't go up a lot. But the fact that it went up when the entire focus of the tariffs was to reduce the trade deficit, I think is significant. And what this can happen for a couple of reasons. The first is the tariffs increase the cost of imports. So if you stop there, if you think, well, that's going to make the trade deficit smaller. But it also leaves our trading partners with fewer dollars to spend on our exports. So we export less. So we don't reduce the trade deficit, we reduce the total amount of trade. And by the way, a lot of the things we import are things like steel, aluminum, parts that our manufacturers need, capital goods like computers. So those tariffs actually, they help some. If you're a steel producer, they probably help you. But if you're somebody that uses steel, either directly or indirectly, they're going to make you worse off. So they don't really help manufacturing. And they don't reduce the trade deficit. And if we want to reduce the trade deficit, history shows how to do that. We just throw the economy into a recession. And whenever we do that, the trade deficit goes down because we get poorer. We can't afford to buy as much. I don't think anybody wants to see us go down that road.
Probably not. If one of the arguments about the use of tariffs is that they function as leverage in trade negotiations, what in your view should be used as leverage rather than tariffs?
After World War II, we went down the road of really having reciprocal zero tariff trade as our goal, and we made progress. I think critics of foreign trading partners they're right when they say other countries have unfair trade barriers that hurt our exports, but we have barriers here in the United States as well. And so we successfully brought those foreign tariffs down through about 2007 as a result of these win-win trade agreement. So I think the key to me is look at things that benefit us, but that benefit our trading partners as well, and view trade accurately as just a summary of win-win international transactions, not going in as a win-lose. Each country is trying to screw the other country, and if you buy something, somehow you're worse off, and if you sell something, you won. Look at mutually beneficial agreements. And while there's no doubt that we can use these as leverage or threats, and sometimes we get some short-term benefits, but that does long-term damage as well when people in other countries are like, well, maybe we can't rely on the United States so much. And the biggest example of us using these as leverage was to put tariffs on China. Did China change any of its policies? Well, actually, China did. They got even worse, and that's according to the Trump administration. So I think we really need to be cautious about just haphazardly saying, oh, we can make anybody do whatever we want. We'll just throw tariffs on or threaten tariffs, because typically what happens is we wind up with the taxes, and we don't always get the changes that we want.
We're visiting with Bryan Riley from our friends at the National Taxpayers Union. Just got a couple minutes left here, Bryan. Now, after the court struck down some of the president's use of tariffs, which ones are still in place, and are there still tariffs that are being questioned or being challenged at this point?
Well, the court threw out the so-called IEEPA emergency tariffs, and immediately the Trump administration reimposed the same tariffs through a different law, Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974, which are also being challenged for being illegal. So those could get thrown out again. In the meantime, the Americans who paid those initial tariffs are trying to get their tariffs refunded from the government, and that's an ongoing process. So we have these broad-based tariffs that remain in effect. There are exemptions for certain goods. There are exemptions for most fertilizer. There is exemptions for petroleum, and I think that's fine. I think it's an indication that even the Trump administration realizes, hey, there are some things we shouldn't tariff because Americans would pay, and we don't think it's a good idea to put tariffs on all those goods. But we also have specific so-called national security tariffs applying to everything from cans of beer to steel to aluminum that are even higher than the broad-based tariffs. So it changes almost from day to day or week to week, but our overall tariff rate remains at about 10% or so. Before Trump came into office this time, it was about 2.5%. So it's a big increase on average in the overall rate, but to some extent it depends not only on what you import, but where you buy it from and what day of the week it is.
Okay, so the bottom line then in the last 30 seconds or so, Bryan, is that the Liberation Day tariffs, have they bolstered any parts of the economy, or have they made things more expensive for us? What's been the bottom line effect?
They've made things more expensive. Most Americans understand they've made things more expensive, and I'm not a political guy. I don't want to predict winners and losers, but politically, but I can tell you that a lot of Republicans are very concerned that there's going to be a price to pay during the midterm elections. But aside from that, and to me, the evidence is clear that they haven't done any good, and they've imposed a lot of costs on the economy. But I encourage everybody, of course, to look at the evidence and draw their own conclusions.
All right, and your all's take on this is going to be at what website? We've already tagged you on social media, but they want to find your work, including your blog and article on this. Where do they find it?
NTU.org for National Taxpayers Union. Obviously, our work on taxes there in generally will be there in addition to the trade policy, the import tax information, and specifically looking at these Liberation Day tariffs. And we'd love to see the Trump administration back away from this. I think it's something that's really holding back our economy, and nobody needs that.
All right, Bryan, good talking to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bryan. Hey, you know what? It is almost Election Day here.
And a lot of people probably forgot about that until you just said it, and they went, oh, yeah, that's coming up.
Yeah, coming up next Tuesday, April 7th. It is Election Day. Before you vote, you need to know what you're voting on, so NewsTalkSTL has you covered. Listen all day for local insight and guidance, and then log on to NewsTalkSTL.com for our complete voter's guide. See the issues and races on your local ballot, know the facts, make your choice, then get out and vote, because local elections aren't decided by millions. They're decided by you.
Stop right now. I've had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I like it, but they're going a little overboard with the dancing.
On News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin car. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up, get up.
I'm not sure you can ever really go overboard with dancing, but I'm not here to talk to you about dancing. I'm here to talk to you about windows. Window World windows are one of the only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. And they're ranked number 1 in the country for number of windows sold by Qualified Remodeler magazine. In just over 20 years in business, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 80,000 homes in St. Louis. And the St. Louis location has been owned, operated, and managed by born and raised St. Louis residents for more than 23 years. Window World products are durable, they're secure, they're energy efficient, they're beautiful, and they use a double-strength glass that isn't commonly used in replacement windows. Plus, with Window World, you get a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. Window World can also help with siding and doors, and their customer service department is available 7 days a week, which is something a lot of their competitors cannot say. In fact, over half of their appointments come from repeat customers or from referrals, which says a lot about their commitment to customer service. Right now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. So if you are looking for windows or thinking you might be looking for windows, call for a free in-home estimate. It's 1-800-GET-WINDOWS or visit windowworldstlouis.com.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
When I have business clients or guests from out of town, I often take them to Cafe Napoli. I know they're going to enjoy any of the Napoli locations. Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, next to Napoli C, Napoli Kirkwood, or Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Excellent food and intellectual conversation, if they bring the intellectual conversation. NapoliSTL.com. NapoliSTL.com.
State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL. Hear all the behind-the-scenes stories about what the State Freedom Caucus is doing across the country, directly from the legislators and the people that are doing it. State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, this Sunday night at 7 with your host, Tim Jones. State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, now Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Hope you had enough time to freshen up your coffee, because now we're back with Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences of the speech. We've talked about that before.
Absolutely.
Okay, but how about this? But should you be at risk for viewpoint discrimination when you speak up on your own time?
At risk of what?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm going to get into, because there's a St. Louis area, like a guy here who's a wannabe influencer on social media.
I had not heard of him before I saw the headline.
I'd never heard of him either.
His influence hasn't reached me yet.
No, but he's suing after getting the boot from his job, and he says, but I wasn't even at work when I was doing this. So let's go through the details and try to separate out. That looks like this is one of those left-wing guys. But to me, the left-wing thing or right-wing thing doesn't really matter. It's the concept, because he's filed a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
on this. So 722 going to 723 right now. Hey, real quick note. I'm going to talk about Nutrition Stop like with more fervor here in a little bit in 8 o'clock hour. But I want to mention this. I got a text from my friend Ryan, who he and Barbara own Nutrition Stop. They're doing a thing every Saturday, starting on this Saturday. Bring a new friend on Saturday. So a lot of people, say, I love this store and you want more people to get healthy and all that kind of stuff. And obviously it's worked for me. If you go in and take a friend in on Saturday and said, hey, I heard about Bring a Friend Saturday, 20% off your nutritional supplements and your body care products. 20% off.
Makes a nice little date night if you're
there. You go, or date day.
Date night at Nutrition Stop.
Right. So 20% if you go in, but make sure you say, I heard about Bring a Friend. I brought my friend in. They're checking out Nutrition Stop for the first time here, and then just tell them that, and sneak in that you heard it on the radio.
Absolutely.
And 20%, so 20% there.
Pretty good deal.
Right, check that out. All right, 723. Okay, so I had never heard of this guy either. I didn't know who he was. He goes by the Woke Ginger.
Okay.
And I don't think he's one of those. I mean, that's just his handle that he goes by, and so
it's ironic.
Yeah, he does a lot of he was in management executive work at a nonprofit group that is called Food Outreach Incorporated, and so he filed a lawsuit this week in the St. Louis City Circuit Court, saying that they violated state law by firing him in response to stuff he was saying on social media. Okay, so I went specifically to one of the most left-wing news sources I could find, and let's take at face value some of their reporting on it.
Assume arguendo.
Right. So let's do this here. And so, I mean, when I say I went to this is like the Advocate.
Okay.
I mean, so a former executive at a Missouri nonprofit that serves people living with HIV and cancer filed a lawsuit saying he was fired for expressing political views on social media. His name is Justin Kralaman. I don't know, Justin, if you're listening, I doubt you are. But if you did, sorry, I forgot your last name, right? So he worked for several years at Food Outreach Incorporated in St. Louis, and he claims that the organization violated state law by suspending and then terminating him because of his political beliefs. So he was the Senior Director of Development and Strategic Initiatives, so pretty high up in the nonprofit organization. Outside of work, he operates social media platforms called the Woke Ginger, where he posts comments on LGBT stuff, pro illegal immigration, pro immigration stuff, other political topics, and apparently he's got like a lot of followers. He's got a lot of views. He gets a lot of people out there. So he was placed on administrative leave back in February, one day after he posted criticism of Enterprise Mobility and St. Louis City SC, the soccer team, related to immigration enforcement and then restrictions on Pride and Black Lives Matter symbols at the games. So part of his complaint about Enterprise, basically they're renting cars to ICE and the feds and, doing business with the...
So Enterprise Mobility is Enterprise
as in part of the Enterprise group
Gotcha.
stuff.
Okay, that's why I wasn't sure if that was some different group.
Right. And then St. Louis City SC, we talked about that when they said no political stuff. No pride flags, no BLM flags, no MAGA flags, no, just don't do it. And so he was very critical of those. He went on social media and called them out. Okay, well, that's his right to do that. He's got no,
Okay.
But he says he made those posts outside of work hours, did not reference his employer, and they were created independently of his role as an organization. So let's take at face value that's all true.
Okay.
Okay? I don't see any reason why it's not. He then says that he'd operated that social media platform for like a year and a half before he got terminated. The complaint states that Food Outreach leadership, including executive director and board members, they were aware of his extracurricular commentary. At even times, they'd been supportive of it. And so he thinks they were illegal in firing him. The lawsuit says no organizational policy prohibited employees from expressing political views about public issues or corporations. He says the decision to suspend and terminate him was driven solely by the content of the post on February 17th. And he says that it was because of the Enterprise content. So
I have a lot of questions, and I don't know if the article answers them.
Yeah.
First off, do we know if his account in any way links him to his employer so that there's a notable link there?
It looks like it's mostly TikTok, which I'm not on, so
Okay.
I don't know. Here's another article or a paragraph in the article that fills in a little bit of the gap.
Okay.
The filing further alleges that the decision was influenced by a member of the organization, his nonprofit's organization board, who was a senior leader at Enterprise Mobility,
Okay.
one of the companies that he criticized. It says the termination was not the result of a formal internal review process, but that the board member just forced it, which the board denies on this. So what it sounds like is...
What law is he saying was broken?
Okay, so specifically, because that's actually cited in the article here, he is saying that it... Let me find it. Because I had the same question.
Because we're an at-will state, so
Right.
generally your employer can fire you for pretty much anything.
Correct.
That's not discriminatory,
Oh.
that sort of thing.
You know what? I actually need to look at the St. Louis Magazine article on this.
Okay.
The law specifically... Oh, where'd it go?
Because did we recently pass a law that's designed to protect people from expressing their political views from employment consequences? Is there something like where we?
Well, that's what they're claiming. Oh my goodness, I had the law right.
So
in front of me.
I'll have to look at the lawsuit and I would like to know a little bit more about this. I'd like to know a little bit more about the law that he's claiming was violated
Yeah,
too.
and it's a Missouri statute. not a
Yeah,
federal one.
because obviously it's not a constitutional thing. The question is whether there's some prohibition that an employer, particularly if this is something that affects their business relationships. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
If they, not just that they have a board member that has some sort of connection, but if there's some sort of, like if they're a nonprofit, is Enterprise one of their big donors?
If they have a board member, that's usually the
that would be
case.
my guess.
That's usually
so.
the
Right
case.
now, you're basically sticking your thumb in the eye of one of the donors that helps pay your salary.
Yeah.
So that would seem to me to be a logical reason for saying, "Hey, this isn't cool."
Yeah.
On the part of the employer. But if there's some statute that somehow limits what an employer can do in that situation, I'd be interested in that.
And there was one article I saw that maybe it was on the channel. Okay, yeah, look at Channel 2's coverage of this here. They are arguing that it is so, because I'm saying this so that you can end up looking it up. Where'd it go? Oh, shoot.
Well, let's assume for argument's sake that there is some sort
Yeah.
of like restriction that, someone can't be fired just for expressing a political view.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, I can understand if we pass that, and I suspect it was done to kind of protect conservatives,
Sure.
but it should protect everybody. It shouldn't just
Yeah.
be one-sided. But my suspicion is that even then, there's probably an exception where if what you're doing is affecting your employer's bottom line. And my suspicion is if you're going out and being highly critical of somebody that is a big resource of funding for your employer,
Right.
that's going to have financial repercussions.
And here's the thing: is the bravery in speaking out against power is knowing there are consequences.
Yes.
That's if there are no consequences and the other side just has to take your punches, that's not courageous. You may have something worth considering, you may have something worth thinking about, but the bravery in that, if you want to argue that that's brave and courageous, is knowing that there are consequences.
Knowing there could be
to that.
negative consequences to you.
This is not a violation of your First Amendment to have consequences for what you said. Now, is it right or wrong, should they, versus is it legal or not legal? Those are
Maybe an
different
argument
questions.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing dignified about punching down,
No.
so to speak. That's where you got to punch up, right? But you can exercise your First Amendment with us via Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, X, or by sending us your 80s bump music for Flashback Friday. Send that to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com and let me know when you listen so you can hear your request.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
It's time to limit the First Amendment.
No. What? I said no.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your First Alert forecast. We're going to be tracking a First Alert weather day as we head off towards the afternoon hours starting at 1 o'clock, lasting through about 11 p.m. tonight. Going to be looking for the possibility of a few isolated strong to severe storms. That'll start to taper off. Highs this afternoon still back towards the upper 70s into Friday, 82 degrees, looking dry throughout much of the day. Then late Friday night could see some strong to severe storms. We'll continue to keep a close eye. Those will turn into showers Saturday, exiting by Saturday afternoon. Sunday looking dry for Easter. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Stan Scott.
John Beal Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call John Beal to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Beal has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Beal.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Last night at sundown, the Jewish holiday of Passover began, lasting through April 9th. For Christians, this is Holy Week. Good Friday marking the day of Christ being crucified, followed by Easter Sunday, marking his resurrection. Against this backdrop, this week we're seeing an NBA player being ousted from the Chicago Bulls because he is a Christian. Now, the Bulls are not saying that Jaden Ivey is off the team because he is a Christian. Not directly, but the facts tell the story. He got waived because he had posted videos against his former team, the Detroit Pistons, because they are, like many other NBA teams and sports, celebrating Pride Month. Not just celebrating homosexuality, but shoving it in the faces of their fans. Jordan Ivey said they are celebrating unrighteousness. So the Bulls said, oh, that's disruptive to the team. You're off. Hours later, Mavericks player Daniel Gafford was being asked what he thought of such treatment. Gafford was wearing a shirt which read, "Faith is not for the weak." He didn't turn against his faith, but tried to sidestep the question, fearing what happened to Ivey. One other thing Ivey had said, the Detroit Pistons are not going to matter on Judgment Day.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Lauren Greenwood, and I'm running for Francis Howell School Board. It's time to stop wasteful spending and protect our children with age-appropriate, back-to-basics education and strong parental rights. Our kids deserve better. Your voice matters. Show up and vote conservative on April 7th. The district's future is on the line. Vote Lauren Greenwood for Francis Howell School Board.
Paid for by Greenwood for FHSD. Ron Pushkar, Treasurer.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Freddy's Market, Iron Bear Customs, and STL Windows and Doors. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Hey, this is Carl Higbee, host of Frontline on Newsmax TV, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, you found that law that I did find that law, section 130.028.
Yeah.
That's the argument that the influencers is using, saying you can't fire me for my political beliefs. So, lawyer Susie.
Okay, so and this is it's a pretty short provision. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the part that would possibly be applicable here, it says every person, labor organization, or corporation organized or existing by virtue of the laws of the state or doing business in the state who shall discriminate or threaten to discriminate against any member in the state with respect to his or her membership or discharge or discriminate or threaten to discriminate against any employee in the state with respect to his or her compensation, terms, conditions, or privileges of employment by reason of his political beliefs or opinions. Okay, so you can't say, hey, I know you're a conservative and I'm
right.
I'm
getting promoted to manager so I can get rid of that guy who has the MAGA.
Yeah, which
bumper
even
sticker.
that I think is a little sketchy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this law has been challenged because there might be an issue with that. But there's a difference between saying this is this person's belief and this person is out there on social media publishing that belief and it's going to have effect on our bottom line. I don't know that. I think this is an uphill climb for him.
I think so, yep. All right, 7:38 right now. Did you hear the one about the congressman who assumed his own constituents couldn't get IDs?
Oh, I think I saw a headline.
I've got the audio from
Okay.
It actually happened. It's kind of remarkable. I mean, to the point where I'm like, I actually kind of feel bad for this guy, as awkward as this was. Yeah. All right. So I'll get to that here in just a moment. And I mean, yes, the world's gone crazy, but you don't have to. I mean, unless you want to.
Or you can.
Yeah,
you can join the
want
fun.
to, you do what you want to do. But don't let all the news overwhelm you. Take it in on your own terms, which is where redstate.com comes in handy. So, Susie, what should we look for today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
Well, I mentioned when we were talking to Gabe, we have a fair amount of coverage of Artemis because a lot of us are space geeks, too. So there's that there. But there's other stuff, too. For instance, this article just dropped from our writer, Ben Smith, this morning. Anthropic dropped its own secret formula online, and now it's everywhere. Yeah, the AI tech guru folks spilled their own code online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the horse is out of the barn.
Okay.
They're calling it back, but it's already out there. That's a problem.
It's like delete that picture off the internet. Nobody has it anymore.
Exactly. So that's kind of, speaking of awkward, check that one out. This one from Bob Hogue. Forest Service ditches the swamps of D.C., heads to where the woods actually are. That's right. The National Forest Service, the U.S. Forest Service, is moving its headquarters from D.C. to Utah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I actually like that proposal that the Trump administration, and I think they may have said it during the first one, but they said, why is like the agriculture department in D.C.?
Correct.
Why not put that in Wisconsin or Missouri?
Well, Josh Hawley was, championing the idea of it being brought to Missouri, like Kansas City. I mean,
that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
So we may see more of this. And then we've got this one from Becky Noble, our own local Becky Noble. How much is too much? Tuition at a D.C. university to balloon to nearly $100,000 a year in the fall of 26.
Wow. That's got to be George Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be. That's crazy. Oh, my goodness. And you know what? Here's the thing. Unless you're going for one of those heritage jobs, your degree from a state schools could be just fine. Yeah, that is nuts. All right. Okay, so Congressman Shamari Figures. Now, not exactly a household name. He's a freshman, and he's out of Alabama.
Alabama. I was going to say, I know he's from like the South or Southeast, but that's all I know.
So he's doing a town hall meeting, come talk to your congressman, and it was at a local church in his district. And so he's giving his thing, and he's talking about the war, and he's talking about stuff. And he's a Democrat. Looks like he's pretty leftist. Okay, but he's out there meeting with his constituents, open to the public kind of meeting, good on him and good on for whatever church that was that said, sure, we'll host it. You can give your speech. And then he gets to the Save America Act part about this. And he's talking about how, it's going to make it harder for people to register to vote and do all sort of talking
Jim Crow 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. So the audio is from a cell phone video of somebody there. So the audio is like a little bit fuzzy here. So if you don't make out every word, hang on. It's just a few seconds, and then we'll kind of recap it. But here's the point in question that made me kind of almost feel bad for the guy. Here's what happened.
So regardless about how you feel about voter ID, right? It's not about that. This is about ease of registration, right? The most common form of ID that everybody has is a driver's license. Right? I'm of a different era. I'm of a different generation. I probably feel a little bit differently about it. But watch this. How many people in here do not have an ID?
Okay, so he just asked the question, how many people in here do not have an ID? Okay.
Were there crickets?
Right? Everybody has an ID. Right? So my thoughts on it a little bit different.
I got to think about this a little different. Okay, because that did not go the way that he thought it was going to go. And it's funny because the poor guy, and he's a young guy, he just kind of, you saw him kind of like dejected. He was like, wait, what? So his audience, who does not have an ID, and he's looking around, not one single hand goes up, and he's in what appears to be a mostly or all black audience at that point.
You don't say.
You don't say. And so he's like, oh, crap. And I honestly, for a split second, kind of felt bad for him because the premise of everything he said, he just got owned by his own question. And I just said for a split second, because I'm like, well, no, now you're just kind of exposed. Your own constituents, I suspect, who mostly voted for you are looking at you like, well, of course we have an ID, dummy.
Right.
You know?
Do you think we're stupid? Like, what is the deal? Oh, boy.
So lesson learned by the freshman lawmaker, you know, before you ask a question of the audience, and this is comms, this is me, this is the communications guy in me, because you want these things to be organic, but before you ask a question of somebody else in a public setting, you need to know what the answer is.
That's right.
You
We've
did,
talked
yeah.
about that. Mhm.
You need to know what the answer is. And he assumed that his minority audience, that there would be somebody that he could point to and say, see, how are you going to vote? But every last person in there was like, no, we're good. We're good.
Talk about the soft bigotry of low expectations. Yeah. And the thing that's really astonishing there is like, I don't know his background. I don't know where he grew up. I don't know where his family is. But like, do you not talk to your family members or members of your community? Do you think that you've got people that you know that don't have an ID?
Right.
I'm not saying there aren't people who might have that issue, although every state that I'm aware of that has that requirement also has the like bend over backwards way for you to get a state ID, even if you don't have a driver's license.
If your 115-year-old grandma, you know, was born in a barn and there was no birth certificate written up at the time, and there are people at the Missouri Secretary of State's office, regardless of who's the Secretary of State, you contact them, they will make it their job to, at no cost to your 115-year-old grandma, find the documentation to make sure she can get an ID at no cost to her. You know,
it's true.
That exists everywhere, but you know, and so this is one of those, I'm like, not even talking about the Save America Act. Dude.
Yeah, I have to wonder, like, what he really thought was going to happen.
Right. I think he probably, just the fact that he asked the question and started looking around, all he needed was one person to go, yeah, I don't know how to do an ID, Congressman. How do I? I'm fully engaged in the process and policy.
I'm here listening to you speak at a town hall.
I've gone out of my way to meet my congressman, but I don't know how to get an ID.
Yeah. Well, it's perfect. It's actually like perfect moment, but whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, I was just thinking about this because I am hungry. You want some Waffle House?
I know where this is going.
I know where there's a Waffle House, but I also know how you can get there. How would you get there? From here, you would just drive or take an Uber, right? But what about teleportation by space aliens? Because there is a high-ranking government official who is saying that could be an option. We're going to talk to you about that at 7:50.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Harvard is an asshole factory in a lot of ways that produces smirking faces.
On News Talk STL.
Tuesday, April 7th, your community is on the ballot. And before you vote, you need to know what you're voting on.
School board, city council.
News Talk STL has you covered. Log on to NewsTalkSTL.com for our complete voter's guide. See the issues and races on your local ballot. Know the facts. Make your choice.
I think we need some kind of change.
Then get out and vote. Because local elections aren't decided by millions. They're decided by you.
My vote counts.
See the complete voter's guide at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Hey there, News Talk family. Chris Cooper here, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management. Tune in this Sunday right here on News Talk STL. We have a special treat in store for your Easter Sunday. Serenity Wealth Now show featuring our special guest, Diane Wood with Trolley Stop Bakery, a familiar voice right here on News Talk STL. So tune in each Sunday, Sunday morning, 9 a.m., the Serenity Wealth Now show, or check us out on Serenity Wealth Now's social media outlets.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, Gemini Wealth Group, Michael's Funeral Home, and Freddy's Market.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Why has Steph's Pizza become the place to go for St. Louis-style pizza, appetizers, salads, and pastas? One taste and you'll know. Dine in, pick up, delivery, even DoorDash. Locally owned and operated with legendary pizza and a new location in Lake St. Louis at 111 Palm Fort Trail. In St. Peters, St. Charles, and the original Stephanitas in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Steph's Pizza is proud to be part of the News Talk STL family. Check them out at stephspizza.com. And remember, tonight's a good night for Steph's Pizza.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. You know, and speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We have a tiff going on in the studio here.
Because my producer's lying about me. Besmirching
okay,
my
so
character.
here's what happened early on is that you come in early because you start the show at 6. And
I
we
do.
start a little
Right,
before
so you
that,
guys were already here.
Right, and you end up parking right next to Jerome.
Right. And yes. And I will flat out own that I did a bad parking job because, you're trying to get square in the space and I swung it and I ended up kind of diagonal in the space. So I was frustrated about that when I opened my car door to realize that I wasn't in there straight when I thought I was. And then the wind blew my car door right into the edge of his car, which was next to mine. And the light came on in his car and I was like, oh, crud, I hit it really hard. But then I realized it was because Jerome was coming out to his car that the light went on. But now he's accusing me of throwing my door into his car and taking off his door handle, which did not happen.
So what I'm hearing is that you were not satisfied with my parking job, even though it was within the lines. You were already frustrated. You premeditatively slammed your door into my Jeep to punish me.
I think Jerome has a hearing issue. And no, I didn't notice his parking job until I went out later to assess my own and realized that his was almost as bad as mine.
And you saw a vehicle that you think might have been parked in a bad way, and you still chose to. There were plenty of other spots, and you still chose to park right next to me.
Okay, listeners, you be the judge. Who's lying? I've got photographic proof.
The more important question is, you guys didn't park anywhere near me, did you?
He's next to you.
Oh, are you?
And then I'm next to him.
Yeah. No, but guess what? Guess what I didn't do this morning? I didn't bump it.
Didn't hit my car. Jeez. Oh, my goodness. All right. Okay, I have never heard of Greg Phillips before today.
I haven't either.
I mean, he's a pretty high-ranking guy at FEMA.
Mm-hmm.
Associate Administrator of FEMA, and he is in charge of FEMA's Office of Response and Recovery. So this is a huge job.
Mm-hmm.
Big job that this guy is responsible for. He also insists that space aliens have teleported him to a Waffle House.
Okay.
So apparently this,
Let's just give credit to the space aliens.
Well,
I mean, they know good food.
I'd say Waffle House is pretty tasty.
That's solid.
I try not to, eat.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on.
Speaking of space aliens, yeah, it's Todd Showalter
taking over the damn show.
Exactly. But yeah, if you want space aliens to teleport you somewhere,
of all places,
you want to go to Waffle House.
I really want some grits now.
Yeah, Waffle House and what's the one they compete against all the time? It's Waffle House, and then what's the other
Well, there's IHOP, Denny's.
Yeah, IHOP and Denny's. Yeah, those. I mean, those are all good. But Waffle House, there's just something
Well, it's got the true diner feel.
It's got the diner feel, and there's the sense of adventure because, are you taking your health into your hands just a little bit?
Maybe.
Maybe. I'm saying.
And there could be a fight that
there
breaks
could
out.
always be a fight at Waffle House. Exactly. So, so Greg Phillips, I guess, has a long history of just saying weird stuff.
Okay.
And he was on a podcast that I have never heard of called Onward Podcast. And so apparently he's been a guest a number of times, but he's recently doubling down on his statement that he was in his car and space aliens picked up his car and moved him. Not once, but 2 times. So here's kind of a collection of that discussion he had on this. Now, remember, this guy is in charge of FEMA's Office of Response and Recovery. So like when the hurricane hits, he's the guy who's in charge of getting FEMA there to make sure you get your water and your stuff. So here's part of how that went.
The very first time you were teleported.
It's scary in a way. I mean, you don't really know, okay, is this evil? Is this good? What is this? What do I do with this? How do I deal with it? I was on the phone. Oh my God, what's happening? And I was landed. And landed about 40 miles away in a ditch outside of a Baptist church in a little tiny town just where you cross over the border. And it was an incredibly frightening moment to experience yourself in your car flying through the air. Teleporting is no fun. It's no fun because you don't really know what you're doing. You don't really understand it. I was with my boys one time and I was telling I was going to go to Waffle House and get Waffle House. And I ended up at a Waffle House. This is in Georgia. And I ended up at a Waffle House like 50 miles away from where I was. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "A Waffle House."
So he ended up at Waffle House like he wanted just 150 miles away, not the one down the road.
Do you think we could get him on the show? No.
We'll promise him. We'll see if we can get him teleported here.
Well, let's talk to the aliens about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have questions, concerns. I will say, I don't know the man. I've never heard him speak before. Yeah. So he may be doing a fine job at his role at FEMA. I would like to know since we are paying his salary. But he sounded out of it there. He sounded like he was.
Apparently, that's his speaking style.
Okay, because I don't want to
kind of that southern.
Unlike my producer, I don't want to libel anybody. But he's not listening to me. But he sounded like not all there.
I mean, apparently he's kind of like I would equate it a little bit to the Tom Homan sort of marble mouth, sort of slower sort of cadence to it. Because I looked at a couple other like speaking. That's kind of
that's just how he sounds like. Okay, well then I'm going to set that aside.
And the video I'm looking at, he didn't look like he was stoned or anything like that.
Okay,
but I'm looking at this. I mean, and it's funny to me, but at the same time, I'm like running the Office of Response and Recovery in emergencies. That takes a lot of really good judgment and critical thinking. Can we not have somebody who's crazy?
Mark Wayne?
Yeah.
Could you maybe look
into that? Yeah, can we look into that? Can we not have a crazy person who's talking about getting shipped around by space aliens? I mean, so apparently they took him to a Baptist church and then they took him to Waffle House.
Both religious experiences.
True. And they want him to both be full of tasty food and saved by our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
And so they're good aliens. They're benevolent aliens, clearly.
Or at least faith-based ones.
Yes.
And because CNN and some of the others were going, hey, what about this? He's like, haters are going to hate. I know what I experienced, and, went on the whole,
It's like the light and airy version of Tucker and the Demon.
Yes. Oh, God.
I'm inclined to believe him, though. If you were an alien, people already are skeptical of your existence, and you could totally get away with just abducting crazy people and then be like, they will never believe you before you drop them back off. What are they going to do about it?
Yeah, but to what end? Like, what do you like? What's your aim? I don't know. I know I shouldn't assign rationality to alien life forms, but
right. I mean, and is this just like the ET like Uber service, and they just got the Waffle House wrong?
Maybe
they just took him to the wrong one.
Misunderstood.
And the aliens are like, what? You said you wanted Waffle House. They've got the maple syrup here. What are you complaining about?
Yeah, I'm feeling compelled to do a little digging on Mr. Phillips.
Men in Black. was a documentary. Just saying.
I'm also feeling compelled to go to Waffle House and get some grits.
Yeah, the Waffle House does sound tasty.
That sounds really good.
You know, I'm just saying. Their coffee is actually pretty good, too. It really is.
Key your car, sign their name. Susan did this.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, does having more economic freedom make a difference in people's lives, such as maybe helping reduce poverty?
It definitely makes a difference. Economic freedom is critical for fostering well-being and prosperity. It enables people to make their own choices and pursue their own interest, like choosing careers, starting businesses, and innovating to make the world better. It thrives in environments that empower people, promote competition, and protect property rights, all while being supported by limited and healthy government. Economic freedom is a catalyst for generating higher incomes, greater wealth, more opportunities, better access to education, and improved health at all levels of society. It makes a difference.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. Amit Thomason. The commander-in-chief says the Iran war finish line is in sight.
President Trump told reporters he sees an end to the U.S. war effort against Iran.
I think we're 2 or 3 weeks in. We'll leave. Because there's no reason for us to do this.
He was asked about the war's impact on Americans, especially at the gas pump.
And we're $4, and we have a country that's not going to be throwing a nuclear weapon at us in 6 months.
But Americans are feeling the effects in the interim.
And they're also feeling a lot safer.
What is the plan to bring them back down?
All I have to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon, and they'll become tumbling down.
Ben Thomas, Washington.
Those remarks by the president echo those he delivered last night in his address from the White House. Republican congressional leaders are pursuing a plan to try to end the 7-week partial government shutdown.
According to the plan, the Department of Homeland Security would be fully funded except for ICE and U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. It's an approach House Speaker Mike Johnson called a joke just ago. But now he and Senate Majority Leader John Thune will try and get it passed. It represents a do-over of what the Senate passed last week, but was rejected by House Republicans. GOP leaders hope to fund immigration operations at a later date. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Parts of Northern California have been rattled by a 4.6 earthquake. Many say they felt their homes shake for a few seconds early this morning across a 100-mile stretch, including San Francisco. 4 astronauts are on their way to a flight around the moon. It's humanity's first lunar voyage in more than 50 years, and it's a leadoff in NASA's plan for a lunar landing a couple of years down the road. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, stock futures deep in the red. The Dow futures down just over 600 points. NASDAQ futures off 447 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your First Alert forecast. We're going to be tracking a First Alert weather day as we head off towards the afternoon hours starting at 1 o'clock, lasting through about 11 p.m. tonight. We're going to be looking for the possibility of a few isolated strong to severe storms. That'll start to taper off. Highs this afternoon still back towards the upper 70s. Into Friday, 82 degrees, looking dry throughout much of the day. Then late Friday night, could see some strong to severe storms. We'll continue to keep a close eye. Those will turn into showers Saturday, exiting by Saturday afternoon. Sunday looking dry for Easter. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Stan Couch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my good friend Harry Parker and the ultimate seafood dining experience at Gulf Shores, GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com. Gulf Shores offering a unique dining experience with a vast, mouth-watering menu of all of your favorite delicious dishes, something for everyone's taste or palate. 3 convenient locations, Edwardville, Creve Coeur, and St. Peter's. Dine in, carry out. They've got a food truck, too. Friendly staff. Looking forward to seeing you, making your dining experience one you will remember. Gulf Shores RestaurantandGrill.com.
When insurance companies know you're represented by Under Law, they know Under is not going to let you be pushed around. Their reputation is built on years of courtroom battles. If you suffer an injury or damage to your property, serve the insurance company notice. You have Under Law on your side. A St. Louis firm you can trust to protect you at every term. Don't settle for less. You want to win? Believe me, Under wins. Under, O-N-D-E-R, underlaw.com.
Mike Ferguson.
Big guy, one of the biggest in the world.
Susie Moore.
Do you think he's ready?
He's not ready.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, Election Day is Tuesday, as in this coming Tuesday, and I guarantee you somebody who's watching or listening just went, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That's one of the problems with April elections. And if everybody were as tuned in and passionate about the April elections as they are the August primaries or the November general elections, we wouldn't have as much concern on this, but it tends to get lost in the mix on that. And school board races may be the most important ones, and a small percentage of voters will decide those races. All right, we're now joined in studio here by David Jaworski, running for the Francis Howell School Board of Directors. And David, you've been in before. It's been a little while since you've been in here, so good to see you again.
Good to see you, Mike.
First and foremost, when you talk about the April elections, so many people just forget. It's the people who are really dialed in, remember, but a small number of people can make a massive, massive, massive difference. And when it comes to something like a school board, this is one where conservatives, where the people who are really worried about the direction of public education, these are the ones we need to be dialed in. I would argue it's as important or even more important than a November election.
Well, 100%. I mean, when you look around the country and you see these anti-ICE demonstrations, right? And you look at the mix of the crowd, a lot of them are young kids, and I'll guarantee you that they don't really understand what they're protesting.
Right.
Now, where do they come from? Well, unfortunately, we are growing them out of our educational programs. So allowing any sort of indoctrination, and I don't care what it is, any indoctrination at all that is outside of actual education should not be permitted in schools. No politics in schools should not be allowed.
And the thing is that the left figured out decades ago that this is a good strategy to completely transform the United States from what we should be to what they want it to be on the hard left. I mean, you go back to, Rules for Radicals. You go back to a lot of these sort of leftist philosophical arguments that are happening, and we're seeing that in fruition. Most school districts, conservatives have just ceded it to the left, and we're trying to fight back. Now we've got districts around here like Francis Howell, where there is a back and forth. Who's going to be in control of it? Is it going to be the conservatives who want to return power back to the parents and make education be education? Is it going to be the left who want to use it to shape and indoctrinate the next generation? It's at least we've got this question in Francis Howell because groups like Francis Howell Families and others have really stepped up, and it's been a difference here. So when you look at April and people are like, oh, yeah, I really need to get out there and vote. I don't want the leftists to have control of the Francis Howell School District, but gosh darn it, I'm so busy, and the bosses, got me doing a million things at work. They need to understand that every single vote matters, even more so on Tuesday's election than it will in November later this year. So you've addressed a couple of things that are kind of at stake, but when it comes to policies at the Francis Howell School District, this isn't a matter of degrees. This is a matter of overt life viewpoints as to what the school district should be doing to or for children.
For sure. I mean, we still don't have a bathroom policy, which in essence, there is a bathroom policy. It's written on the doors.
Yeah.
Boys, girls, right?
Right.
But it's not enforced, and just by not enforcing it, you're basically sort of silently signaling that, well, we're going to allow the transgender ideology to actually have this sort of protected class status, and I'm against this.
Yeah.
So we had the Wentzville School District has a policy. It's a good policy. It takes into account everybody, including kids that have dysphoria around this issue. And it's not that I don't sympathize with these kids that do have confusion around this issue. And so I think that the Wentzville School District's policy is probably one of the best that was written. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to see that happen. I also like to see this educational technology not be allowed in schools. Fundamentally, over the past 2.5 decades, we have seen the fact that the ed tech does not actually work.
Explain what that is.
So educational technology is basically, and right now Francis Howell is planning on having screens in front of every kid by 26, 27. And the evidence shows that this technology not only does it not work, but it actually cognitively hurts the kid.
So we're talking about just replacing books with iPads?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So you're literally looking at a screen all day long. Now, I hear these moderations now coming out of some of the liberal progressives where they're saying, well, we're not going to necessarily have them looking at the screen all day long. Well, I haven't heard that out of the school board. I just hear the fact that they're going to do one-on-one tech. And one-on-one tech from the scoring, okay, so there's meta-analysis that was done by Dr. Horvath in his book. And in that, the primary score to actually have an educational difference is a 0.4, 0.5. And ed tech, one-on-one tech actually scores 0.19. So well below the threshold of actually helping educationally.
I want to make sure that we're understanding what we're talking about, because if somebody says, well, books are expensive and they get updated, so if it's an ebook and it's a Kindle, they're looking at the same thing than a regular book. But what I'm hearing you say is this is a different style of education and delivering the content, because we're not talking about specific classes or studies. We're talking about the delivery method here.
Yeah, well, and like this book here, right?
Right.
I can go to a page here and actually see a landmark, and that landmark's not going to move around. An electronic book, it does. So you cannot necessarily place hold on an electronic book. All of these little things, these details actually do affect the cognitive ability of a kid. And unfortunately, this is a situation where you don't know what you don't know. So the kid can learn on technology like this, think they got a good education, get out of school, wind up getting tested and realize, oh, I didn't really learn what I thought I learned, because their recall isn't there.
So the delivery method, then the better way, is it just a matter of let's go back to the old fashioned
paper and pencil,
teacher speaking, look it up.
You know why we got rid of cursive?
Why did we get rid of cursive? Because I remember taking so much time when I was a kid studying, being taught how to do cursive with the different lines and the practicing. Why was that?
So there's one person that I follow that I think has got this down right, and that is the computers can't read cursive.
Oh, okay.
It's that simple. And, cursive, just the fact that you're moving your hand and you're doing these things actually help to build cognition in a child.
Mm-hmm.
The Greeks used to do this, used to teach a subject called rhetoric. Mm-hmm. And they would literally develop these pathways that they would walk while they would exercise their rhetoric, right? They were building logic chains in order to develop an argument for or against a particular issue. And they would walk a path to develop that logic train and to think it through. And that movement, along with developing their rhetoric, helped them to do recall.
Okay, we're visiting with David Jaworski, running for the Francis Howell School Board. The election is on Tuesday. And we've covered between the conversations with you and Lauren Greenwood and Jane. Jane's going to be here on Monday, by the way. And so, we know what the battle lines are as far as literal, and this is not hyperbole, pornography in the school libraries and in some of the content. So I don't think we necessarily need to go through all of that again because I've got a shortage of time. But bottom line is that you all are saying, no, schools should not be in the business of handing over pornography to kids. That's crazy. But, the opponents out there are making different arguments on that, which is mind-numbing to me. But let's talk about the actual education standards and delivery, because at the base of what you're running to do is to be on a board that's responsible for providing that education to generations of young people. How do we take whatever the level of education is right now? Let's talk about the history, basic sciences, math. All these civics, all of these different things. How do we improve that and provide that better education? Because if we have a truly educated populace, I do think that a lot of our cultural issues will start to sort themselves out. We just have kids who are just indoctrinated in one thing, and I think kind of dumbed down.
Right. Well, okay. So we've actually been talking about it.
Yeah.
The fact that we have this technology that is being used in schools is depriving our kids cognitively. And so, by just getting rid of that and moving back to systems that we employed, you go back 3 decades, and we were employing these systems back then. Paper, pencil, taking notes physically, having kids develop understanding of how to take notes, having the kids do flashcards, and then do regular exercises to test retention. These are all things that are very simple to do, no matter what the subject is. And they will absolutely improve kids' ability to retain information. There was one experimental school that I'm familiar with, their work, and they were talking about the math class that they were doing, and one of the instructors does this thing where they do about a half hour, 45 minutes of math, get up, go outside, do basketball for 15 minutes, come back in and resume the class, and they saw a 30% increase.
Oh, interesting.
So just these kinds of things of getting kids moving. So, in other words, the whole idea of getting rid of recess and so forth is a terrible idea. And we need kids to be moving. But in addition to that, like I said, paper, pencil, review cards, flashcards, teaching kids how to take notes. They don't know how to take notes today. Yeah. They don't know how to develop these very simple tools, and they are extremely effective. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We already know how to educate. It's just every time a new idea comes along, the board's like, well, let's spend some more money and we'll do this, right? Throwing money at this problem and continuing to test out new ideas when we have already known for centuries how to teach kids, it's ridiculous. And so that's why I'm conservative, right?
Yeah. And speaking of the money side of this, and I know it's not directly part of your campaign but there's actually a ballot issue on the ballot in the district as well.
Yeah, Prop RT.
RT, yeah. Now, explain that to what people are. Whether you want to take a position on the air, but what is it that's being asked?
Well, fundamentally, it's going to freeze the level that you're currently paying your taxes at.
Oh, got it.
So it's not going to get rid of the taxes. It's simply freezing the level at you're paying your personal property or your property taxes at.
Okay. Is that for everybody, or is this a senior tax freeze?
As far as I know, it's for everybody.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
So in the school district, I heard one individual recently who sort of did these mental gymnastics with the math and went all through the math and props to this individual for going through the math on how it works and claiming that the school district is going to lose money. But when she finally ended, I challenged her and I said, look, at the end of the day, you're building your entire math problem on an assumption. And these assumptions, you're sort of saying, well, this is coming from this organization, this is coming. And I would like somebody to tell me, when was the last time that the government gave you assumptions and projections and they were actually right?
Yeah. Okay, so David Jaworski, as we wrap here, running for Francis Howell School District. So what I'm hearing here, go back to the foundational aspects of education and delivery, teach human individuals with human individuals, and also don't get stupid with money. Is basically what we're hearing.
And one of the big things is, for you Christian conservatives out there, we need your help. We love your prayers, but we also need you to show up and vote on the 7th. And in addition to that, this is a long fight. We need to understand that we're not taking control of the board this year. We're only holding the spots that conservatives currently have. We need to engage you all the way through to the election in 27 in order for us to actually take control back.
Yep. All right. Website, social media. I think we've already tagged you if you're on social media. But
Facebook, it's David Jaworski for FHSB. And then, of course, the Francis Howell families.
Right.
So.
All right. Sounds good. David, thanks so much. Good luck on Tuesday. And Jane's going to be here on Monday, so we'll be following up even more.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your help on this.
You got it. All right. Just ahead in the news dump coming your way at 8:22, Mason Wynn has a really good day and then a not so good day. I'll tell you what happened just ahead right here. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I'm a hell of a lot smarter than most of you.
On News Talk STL.
All right, springtime, maybe not today, a little bit raining, but springtime, you need to look around at your property and say, what am I going to do to make my house and my property more of a home and invest in it as well? Let me tell you what you need to do. You need to call my friends at STL FenceWorks. Mike Ferguson here for STL FenceWorks, stlfenceworks.com. I'm telling you, go to that website. You can actually do kind of a virtual estimate of what that new fence around your yard is going to do for you and cost on it. You can do it without worrying about being hounded by a salesperson, which, by the way, that's not how they do business anyway. STL FenceWorks has been around for over 50 years. This is a family-owned business, and there's a reason they are so successful. One, they're very, very good at what they do. They don't go just try to get anybody to fill a spot. It's not like calling your cousin because he knows a guy who happens to go to Home Depot a lot, and they can get some buddies in on the weekend. They'll build a deck for you. Well, then you're going to have to end up treating it, staining it, and repairing it and fixing those warps in it down the road. STL Fence Work, you do it right, and it is more affordable than you could possibly imagine as well. They use American-made materials exclusively, which means better pricing because they don't have those import and tariff costs on that. And it also means faster installation because of no supply chain problems as well. So here's the thing. They do custom fences, and they use materials that are guaranteed, because you can say, oh, I can do it cheaper by getting that wood from the home improvement store. Yeah, but it's not cheaper. You got to stain it. You got to treat it. You're going to have to go back out and do it. You're going to have to replace boards. Not with what happens with STL FenceWorks. So go to stlfenceworks.com. You need that deck, need that fence. They've got you covered, and you can get that virtual quote as well. stlfenceworks.com.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Want a hands-free light that does not strap to your head or held in your mouth? Meet Dex Finger Light at fingerlight.com. The Kryptonite ring fits any finger, pointing light exactly where you need it. Place decoys, handle gear, get close to roosted gobblers, fast, easy, stealthily. 3 light modes, waterproof, extremely durable. Developed by a father and son's Missouri team, Dex Finger Light is faster and easier than a headlamp. Use discount code TONY20 for 20% off at fingerlight.com.
News, analysis,
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
Is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connor's USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
Couple of things that I'm seeing on Rumble here. By the way, if you're on Rumble or Facebook or Twitter, hit that like or the heart or whatever, and help us out, get the word out here. But somebody mentioned that on school board races, especially here in the metro area, sometimes these local races are decided by literally dozens of votes. I mean, this is the voter turnout in some of these are so small that David's right. It doesn't take that many people to make a big difference in a local election.
Yeah, our Democrat friend Scooter actually said that a good way to maybe get the audience to show up to vote is to remind them he's going to be showing up to vote. So if you don't want him deciding the election, you better get out there.
I actually appreciate that, Scooter. All right. 8:23 right now. The president addressing the nation, essentially reinforcing where he is regarding the Iran war. Democrats, Republicans, they are still not close to a deal on DHS. So the Republicans say, we're just going to do it by ourselves. And also Mason Wynn from the Cardinals. He had a really good night, and then he had a really bad night.
Oh.
Well, good day, then bad day. I'll tell you what that's all about. It's 8:24. Let's do one more news dump here.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by The Nutrition Stop. The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
By the way, in about 25 minutes, I'm going to tell you how to get 20% off of a bunch of your stuff at Nutrition Stop this weekend.
Ooh.
Going to do that here. President Trump is insisting that U.S. forces will finish the job in Iran and that they're going to do it soon.
In a nationwide address, the president defended the war against Iran and proclaimed great progress.
We are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly.
But he said the U.S. military still has work to do.
We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
The president also acknowledged rising oil prices and volatile financial markets, but predicted gas prices will drop and stock prices will go back up. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A city police officer dies while on duty. The St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department says 58-year-old Officer Gregory Triplett suffered a medical emergency during a training exercise on Wednesday. He had been with the department for over 30 years.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So this was apparently one of those standard training things that officers are constantly doing, training and updating and skills testing, and this was one of those sort of standard things, and the medical emergency just happened while he was doing the training.
Okay, so it was listed as a medical emergency, not like a training accident.
Correct.
Okay.
No, it was not a training accident. It was a medical emergency. So what kind, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It was just one of those really tragic things. Okay, House Republicans, as you know, last week rejected the Senate's bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security, saying, no, this doesn't have any funds for ICE and Border Patrol. Now President Trump is giving Republicans a new deadline to do something, and GOP leaders have announced a plan. Republican Senator Dave McCormick, he's out of Pennsylvania. He was talking about that on Fox Business's Kudlow. The guest host last night was David Asman.
I think what's going to happen now is, if I'm understanding it correctly, is the House will vote on the Senate bill, and then we'll ultimately move forward on a reconciliation process, which the president insists will be on his desk by June 1st, which will fully fund everything.
Okay, so the parts of DHS have been shut down for about 2 months now. The June 1st deadline from the president doesn't have any legal weight, but it does give the Republicans like a target on the calendar to put a little more, I guess, urgency to it.
Yeah, having at least some sort of goalpost to aim for is always a good thing.
Yeah. All right. Missouri Right to Life's annual banquet happening next month. This year's keynote speaker is Riley Gaines.
Oh.
Yeah. That's going to happen Wednesday, May 20th at the St. Charles Convention Center. You can get more information and your tickets at MissouriLife.org or just Google search Missouri Right to Life. It'll be right there. Here's the thing. Don't wait because this will sell out. So I would go get your tickets now or get your table now as well. All right, see here. 4 astronauts take off aboard the Artemis II from the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral for their mission to and beyond the moon, the first of its kind in over half a century. And this is what it sounded like.
3, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
This trip is going to last about 10 days. Artemis II will not be landing on the surface of the moon, but rather will travel several thousand miles beyond the moon, making a U-turn and then coming back to Earth. Current plans are for at least one moon landing and potentially a second one in 2028. NASA says these will be performed by Artemis IV, and they're slated to explore the South Pole region of the moon.
Yeah, earlier today we were actually talking with Gabe about that and sort of his analysis, but I'm really wondering what Katy Perry thinks about this mission and how it's going so far.
And if she were to get up there, would she kiss the South Pole of the moon? I'm just saying, you know. By the way, that Gabe had a lot. Actually, we had a lot of fun talking to Gabe. He had some really good insight on why this actually could be really important to all of us for generations. So let's revisit that at 8:35.
Okay.
I think let's do that here. All right, the Cardinals get the series win over the Mets, and they do it in walk-off fashion. Mason Wynn drove in J.J. Weatherholt with a single in the bottom of the 11th inning to win the game. Final score 2-1. That means the Redbirds win the series 2-1. Today is a travel day, and the Cardinals have their first road game of the season on Friday against the Detroit Tigers. Now, here's the thing. Unfortunately, after getting that walk-off hit, Mason Wynn then ended up in a single-car wreck on I-64.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay, so he was checked out at the hospital. He a little shaken up, but he's not hurt. That's the good news.
Oh, thank goodness.
The team says the accident was due to the wet pavement yesterday afternoon/evening, which it was raining and drizzling and speaking. But as far as we know, those were the factors. Is basically he hydroplaned.
I was going to say, people don't seem to always realize just how easy it is to accidentally hydroplane, especially if you don't have newer tires or you're going to just hit at the wrong angle.
Right.
So you got to be careful.
Exactly. All right. The Blues take the Kings into overtime, but they end up losing 2-1. Their road trip continues with a game against the Ducks on Friday. Obviously, that's in Anaheim. Saturday's Battlehawks game was a big hit on TV. According to the Nielsen ratings, the season opener with the DC Defenders was the second most watched UFL game ever on ESPN. 938,000 viewers watched the Battlehawks get the win at the Dome, and that's in addition to the 31,000 plus who were at the Dome. The UFL's TV audience on ESPN overall up 50% compared to week 1 last year.
Wow.
Indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I'm making a little speech. I'm going to tell everybody how great I am. What a great job I've done. What a phenomenal job. What a phenomenal job I've done.
On NewsTalk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch with your First Alert forecast. We're going to be tracking a First Alert weather day as we head off towards the afternoon hours starting at 1 o'clock, lasting through about 11 p.m. tonight. Going to be looking for the possibility of a few isolated strong to severe storms. That'll start to taper off. Highs this afternoon still back towards the upper 70s into Friday, 82 degrees, looking dry throughout much of the day. Then late Friday night could see some strong to severe storms. We'll continue to keep a close eye. Those will turn into showers Saturday, exiting by Saturday afternoon. Sunday looking dry for Easter. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Stan Scott.
Fox News Commentary with Jimmy Fallon next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Here's Jimmy Fallon.
When the Democrats get out there and say no kings, or they're, waving the flag for a communist revolution, or they're protesting on behalf of the Ayatollah, who oddly enough killed 35,000 of his own protesters and gives women no rights, you realize there's a lot of people in this country, young ones that are stupid, that don't know any better, and the old ones, and that's the vast majority of that Springsteen audience, that just want to relive their youth. They've been told that this is their ticket to a second go-round with activism. Do you remember the 60s? They did the no war protest. They were out there on the quad throwing frisbees, smoking weed. Well, it's all of those people, except now they're in their late hundreds, okay? If you've no kings, honestly. A lot of these people look like they were alive the last time we had a king. Honestly, they're supposed to be the party of the youth. I've seen younger faces on money.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
This year, America turns 250, and NewsTalkSTL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. NewsTalkSTL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Roman T. Jewelers, Luxury Driver STL, Harry J. Steakhouse, and Snooze Mattress. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 NewsTalkSTL.
News, analysis, opinion.
Don't always agree, but in love listening to your radio station.
This is tyrannical stuff they're doing.
Elections have consequences.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Rocket Man, burning out his fuse out
there. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. On this historic mission, you take with you the heart of this Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people and our partners across the globe, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis 2. Let's go.
1 minute 50 seconds of mission elapsed time. Standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%. Ahead of solid rocket booster separation. Expected at the 2 minute 9 second mark.
Artemis 2 now in outer space, launching last night.
Yeah.
Boy, that is some big dramatic stuff that they write into the mission control on there. But something about going into outer space.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Now, we find that fascinating. But you know who is probably totally geeking out over this? I say was, and what I say was probably still is. Would be our very own Gabe Phifer, who joins us right now, our own rocket scientist. All right, Gabe. I figured you might have a passing interest in this. Just saying.
Yeah, just a wee bit. Good morning, Wake Up Crew. I am so very, very excited about this whole thing. I keep looking around. It's like, is anybody else as excited as I am about this? Apparently not. I don't think so. The news seems more sparse than I think it should be for such a historic moment.
So, but by the way, we're seeing a lot of people, like we've even had some people today saying, hey, the Artemis launch was more interesting than even the president's speech because we knew it was,
far.
And so there are a lot of people who are. So here's the question. We're not actually landing on the moon. We're basically doing a drive-by and we're going a little bit farther and doing a U-turn and coming back and all that sort of thing. From the scientific perspective, from the exploration perspective, we went to the moon over 50 years ago, as everybody knows, Gabe. Why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this?
Well, I think this is really kind of the stepping stone to becoming essentially a multiplanetary species. The whole idea, the end goal of Artemis is to get to Mars. Actually, the moon is our stop off, basically. So this is the closest body that we can get to run the experiment of what it would be like for a human to live on a planet that isn't Earth, or I should say a body. The moon isn't a planet, obviously, but so we're going to have a permanent presence on the moon very, very soon, and it's going to give us a lot of opportunities for humans to understand what it's like living elsewhere, essentially. And there's so many unknowns. I think people get this idea that, well, once you do it once, it's kind of a one and done. No, this is an ongoing contingency dealing with all of the challenges that go along with living someplace that we are not designed to live.
So we're going to become extraterrestrial is the point, right?
Yeah, we're going to be the aliens. I mean, one of the goals, I think one of Elon Musk's goals, that he stated many times is that in order for us to advance as a species, we do need to become multiplanetary. So the concept of humans being born on Mars and literally being Martian is part of that whole deal.
And some of them will probably be Elon's children. So, Gabe, we touched on this a little bit, but Red State, by the way, has had quite a bit of coverage of the Artemis launch, and I was very stoked about it. In fact, wrote about it in my Morning Minute yesterday, because I was in diapers when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, so obviously don't remember it. And then the Apollo missions ended when I was, in nursery school. So this is, the first time we're really seriously doing this in 50 years. And I'm thinking about the difference between the technology. Are you able to put into words that some of us non-rocket scientists can understand the difference in the technology then versus now? Sure.
I think computing power obviously is the biggest one, and it's the easiest one to point to. So, during my college career, we were required essentially to have a graphing calculator, right? The giant chunks that had all the buttons that only so many people knew how to use. There was more computing power in that than there was in any particular Apollo capsule. So that's the kind of level of technology that we were somehow able to put people on the moon back in the 70s, and it was basically the wild west back then. The Cold War was going, so it was very much duct tape and chicken wire to get us there, but they managed to do so. Right now, the technology has become obviously much more advanced on the computing side. In terms of materials, we've actually changed the types of materials we use. A lot more composites in the way we're trying to lighten up the loads. That's one of the keys is making it cheaper to get to leave the planet. So weight is a big deal, and we've been able to have lighter and stronger materials. And then, of course, the rocket technology itself, having more efficient systems and things like that, also a means by which to make it cheaper.
You know the voice. That's obviously Gabe Phifer, our resident aerospace nerd. And we all know that I don't mean that as an insult. That's what you say, Gabe.
Yes,
of course.
Yes,
precisely.
That is
self-proclaimed.
Okay, so let's talk about obviously the what's in it for us kind of situation. We've referenced the exploration aspect of it, getting to Mars. Why is it that we should want to do that? Is it just to show that we can? Is there a scientific benefit? Is there a health benefit? Is there some kind of materialistic benefit that we can look to down the road for generations beyond? Because it's not something probably we're going to see in our lifetime. But what is it we're laying the foundation for by doing this? And what are they looking at on the moon? I mean, what is the ground laying, sort of foundational purpose of this trip?
You mentioned a number of areas where there are potential benefits. Just like, is it this? Is it this? The answer is yes, all of the above. The getting there, just the technology required to do the things that we've done just now has I think moved along certain technologies that are definitely going to benefit air travel. They're going to benefit us in terms of materials, in terms of vehicles, making them lighter and stronger. The computing technology that I keep talking about Elon like I'm his bro, but he's kind of an incredible guy. And one of the things that he's done with his various companies is he's kind of synergized a lot of these things. The computing technology you're seeing in things like XAI and the Optimus robot he's trying to develop, and the self-driving capabilities of the Tesla. All of those things are kind of related. And he's showing right now the terrestrial applications of things that he can use to get us to Mars. So in a lot of ways, he's kind of showing us, this is the benefit of doing this. The other aspect of it is the health benefits, and I think people don't give that as much attention as it probably deserves as well. Showing what the human body does in microgravity first, in terms of being in orbit and things like that, and of course in the lesser gravity of the moon, could benefit us in understanding how the body works. What affects the way, what physical factors affect the way we perform as humans, and all of those things are going to be to our benefit.
And real quick question came in on Rumble from Scooter. Gabe said, and I think you actually mentioned something to this effect a second ago, is the plan to launch our Mars mission? Is it the plan to launch our Mars mission from the moon as opposed to from Earth? I think that's what he's asking.
I can't speak specifically to the Mars portion. I think they're still in planning phases on that. But there are several ideas. One of them being using the moon as a refueling station, so that you don't have to carry all of the fuel from Earth to get all the way to Mars. You go from Earth, refuel at the moon, and then continue on. Like I said, getting weight off of the planet is very, very difficult. There are a number of ideas on the table, but we're not going to know until we do the whole moon thing. There's the Artemis program. I think right now the published milestones are over the course of the next few years. We're going to have yearly launches. So we've got this one, which is basically the human test. We're going to have an equipment test next year for the landers and all those systems. Now they're just going to go to low Earth orbit with that. But the very next year, 2028, moon, boots on the moon again. So that's that, and that will be the start. And every year thereafter, there are going to be construction and resupply missions for building that permanent base. So we're going to learn a whole lot in that period, and then it's off to Mars.
So, Gabe, can we talk about the toilet?
Sure.
I don't know if folks know, but in the proverbial Houston, we have a problem. Not long after things were launched, there became an issue on the ship there with the toilet. But it seems like they may have gotten it remedied. But what can you tell us about that?
Now, I don't know the specifics, but I will say this: doing everything in space, just living, is difficult.
Sure.
Every little thing that we take for granted, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to walk over to the toilet and evacuate. Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you're not under gravity, when you're in microgravity, the toilet has to work very, very specifically. Otherwise,
the toilet has to come to you
everywhere.
Yes.
The toilet has to come to you. Exactly.
I'm still processing evacuate.
It's a proper technical term, medical term.
That is the proper technical term.
It is.
That is the proper term. And yes, it is very specifically one of those issues that you'd be surprised how much the toilet on any space mission, even space mission, costs, just because it has all of those challenges. So I imagine there was probably something wrong with its ability to do that, to contain the matter and prevent smells from entering the cabin. Because the thing is, once a smell gets into the air, in a closed system like a spaceship.
You can't roll down the window and just
No, there is no infusion of new air. It's all the same air.
No Scentsy candles
only
either.
So much you can scrub.
Yeah.
Nope. You don't want anything burning up there.
Okay, so obviously we're talking to our good friend Gabe Phifer. So last couple minutes we've got here, Gabe. Obviously these are high risk. You talked about the advancements in technology, the advancements of what we know, and then we're still planning out the process. What are the things that NASA, who else is involved with this? I mean, whether it's SpaceX or whoever it is, when they look to build these types of missions, what are the risks they need to keep in mind when building not just a mission like this, but what's ahead and what's next?
Oh yeah, there are many risks. I mean, just the basic risks. Obviously, for those of us who grew up in the shuttle age, you remember Challenger. Mm-hmm. Just the basic risk of getting off the planet with a giant explosion machine strapped beneath you. That carries its own risk. Vibration, temperature fluctuations, space radiation. There are many of these factors that have to be taken into account when you're designing these systems, and of course the computing power to make sure that your trajectory is correct. Because being off by just a little eventually explodes into a major problem. This is the danger of orbital mechanics, essentially. So if you're off, like, let's say 0.1 degree in your re-entry, we'll say, you're going to burn up in the atmosphere or bounce off the atmosphere out into deep space.
That's a problem.
Never to be returned again.
Yeah, so basically the difference between becoming Neil Armstrong versus Major Tom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so all of those challenges, and then of course, as I mentioned, the challenges of living in space. Once you add humans into the mix, then it's even a bigger deal. So all of those things. This is why when we talk about things like brain surgery and rocket science being hard, that's the hard part.
All right, Gabe Phifer, once again, we miss you, man. Thanks for checking back in.
Hey, thanks for letting me talk a little bit about my nerd stuff.
Love it. Wouldn't want anybody else to do it.
We'll
Thank you
talk to you again soon, man. Thanks.
Miss you guys. God bless.
Well, so far so good with this mission, it sounds like. We might actually have space for all Elon Musk's kids after all. But you know what they're going to need when they're going to space? Is some 80s themed bump music. We do Flashback Friday tomorrow, which means we need your song requests. I've actually gotten some really good sci-fi and space themed 80s songs, so we might actually have a little bit of fun with that. So go ahead and send me your 80s themed bump music requests, Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com, and let me know when you're listening so you can hear your request.
I'm a rocket man, burning out its fuse all year long.
Let me tell you about the evolution of how I used to treat my body. When it came to eating in particular, I used to think, I'm heavy, I need to lose some weight. And so what I do is I'd go to the grocery store and I'd buy the frozen, pre-prepared microwave meals that said healthy something. I'm like, well, it says healthy. It says low fat, so there it must be good. Well, then I figured out, wait a minute, I actually need to be preparing my own food instead of the preservative-laden food. So I would go buy the stuff in the cans and put it in a cooker. Okay, well, that was better, but not great. And then I decided I'd start getting actually healthy. And fast forward to today, I'm only eating very clean foods. And let me tell you what my body's done. My body doesn't want the bad stuff anymore. And my body fat has gone way down. And I'm 54 years old. And athletically, I feel like I'm in my mid-30s. A lot of that has to do with my friends at Nutrition Stop. Mike Ferguson here for Nutrition Stop, nutritionstop.com. Matter of fact, today, right after the show, once I'm done with my stuff after the show, I'm going out to Nutrition Stop because I got to restock on my proteins. And you can go get that from, the supermarket, I guess, if you want, or you can go get it at Walmart, or you can go get it at one of the specialty stores out there. And there's some stuff that's okay, but it's not natural ingredients. Look at what you're putting into your body. You wouldn't put junk into your car because it would run your car into the ground. Your car would break down. Same thing with our body. You shouldn't be putting junk into your body because your body is eventually going to break down. Since I've started working with Nutrition Stop, my body feels better. I have less inflammation. I get sick less. I have fewer headaches. I sleep better. And it's because of their expertise in the all-natural products. Matter of fact, if you bring a friend on Saturday, tell them, say, I heard about your promotion. I brought a friend to check you out for the first time. They're going to give both of you 20% off. your supplements, and your body care products. So check them out, nutritionstop.com on Mexico, right there on Mexico Road, just off Cave Springs and I-70. And if you're out and about today, I'll be there midday today buying my own stuff. So see you there.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
I was elected in 2023 to bring common sense and conservatism back to the classroom. Despite my hard work, there's still much to do. Hi, my name is Jane Pushkar, and I'm running for the Francis Howell School Board. I can continue the hard work of fiscal responsibility, parental rights, and returning to research-based curriculum and resources. It's a tall order, but after successfully removing many pornographic books, I've proven that parental rights are never to be ignored. Your vote is critical this year, so please vote for the top 3 conservative candidates on the ballot.
Paid for by Citizens for Jane Pushkar. Ron Pushkar, Treasurer.
This holiday season, bring the taste of Italy into your home. At Di Gregorio's, we've been helping St. Louis families celebrate around the table for over 50 years. From imported wines, olive oils, and cheeses to gourmet pastas, sauces, and specialty holiday favorites like panettone and torrone. Our Italian gift baskets make the season easy and unforgettable. You'll find everything you need to make the holidays special. Experience a little bit of Italy right here in St. Louis. Di Gregorio's Italian Market. Visit us at digregoriofoods.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Well, Passover is underway.
And happy Passover to you if it applies.
So we'll see how our friend Karen Cataline is celebrating Passover Thursday at 9 a.m.
Weekday mornings at 9
on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning, people.
I think it's been interesting looking at the reactions to the Supreme Court argument over the 14th Amendment, which happened yesterday, right? For a couple of different reasons. One, even if Donald Trump loses, I don't know that he necessarily loses. Okay, I'll get to that in a second here. Secondly, while there's a lot of people coming at this from just a very, very tribal perspective, I also think it's kind of encouraging that there's a lot of people digging into, okay, what does the Constitution actually say? Now, they may be getting there from a less than sincere position, but the focus is on what does this amendment actually mean? And anytime we've got people debating and digging into that, I think that's actually a step in the right direction, looking at what's the Supreme Court's job, interpret what the Constitution says. Now, we obviously, Susie and Jerome and I talked about this a little bit earlier, and we don't know what the Supreme Court's going to rule, and there's like 100 different options. They may come out and make a decision on this is what the 14th Amendment said, and the president is right or the president is wrong. I don't know. We kind of doubt that's going to be the case. It appears to most of us that the Supreme Court is skeptical of the president's order saying this is what the 14th Amendment means. Birthright citizenship is no longer recognized. They seemed very skeptical of that, which means that he may very well lose this case, and I think that he might. Here's why I say that doesn't necessarily mean that the president loses, because if the president loses and the Supreme Court says, no, the last 125, 150 years of recognizing birthright citizenship is how the 14th Amendment should be interpreted, which is how a lot of people and how it seems that the Supreme Court seems to be leaning towards. If that's what they say, then his emphasis on closing the border and immigration enforcement and chasing down illegal aliens is validated in a way that I don't think a lot of people anticipated. Because if the Supreme Court rules that the 14th Amendment, to some degree, whatever that is, and they may do somewhere in the middle, we don't know. But if they end up saying, no, if you're born here, that means you're a citizen according to the 14th Amendment, regardless of how your parents got here. If that's what they end up doing, and I don't know that they'll go that far, but we'll see. Just for the sake of argument, that means that that everything that Trump ran on as far as border security and closing the border was completely validated, and it becomes even more crucial that we have that closed border, vet every single person before we allow somebody to come in. And again, I am not anti-immigration. I'm pro-legal immigration. I just think we have the right to say yes or no to anybody we darn well please. So that's why I don't know. Now, if the Supreme Court rules against the president's order, the media is going to tell you that this is a massive loss and a huge setback for Donald Trump and all of his xenophobic supporters. That's not necessarily the case. Now, Susie believes, if I'm remembering what she said correctly, that the ruling could be somewhere in the middle, splitting the issue up, sending some things back to lower courts. Maybe. We'll see. There could be more confusion after this. We don't know. But if the president loses, I think that what happens then is that those of us who are conservative, those of us who are constitutional, and those who are MAGA are simply going to say, look, this is why border security matters. This is why ICE and Border Patrol, if they're doing their enforcement the right way, why this is so crucial, because the Supreme Court just acknowledged that if you just show up, you can be an anchor baby, and that's what we would hope we would get rid of.